Here we go.
We've done 10 of these things now. This is number 10. How you feel about that?
The big 1-0. Yeah, I mean, we're here, guys. We're stick drift, and we're gonna keep drifting.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what we
we're
do.
drifting. We're drifting left. We're drifting
Next
right.
time we know it, it's gonna be the 100th episode, and we're gonna be like, holy
Yeah.
crap, we got 100 of these.
Lord willing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been doing much but playing video games, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
same.
honestly, it's been a lot of just playing video games, and it's been good because I felt like I've been in my bag lately. Because I kind of hop from thing to thing sometimes. I go like, oh, am I gonna get invested in this or in this? But no, I had two things specifically this week that I was just like deep into.
Yeah. That's good to have.
Yeah, for you for sure. I know you were. You played more than I did of one game, but
Yeah. No.
but yeah,
I've been gaming a lot too. I mean, like usually I have like other hobbies I'm tending to, but like these past couple weeks I've just been gaming. That's what I've been enjoying doing, and it's nice to enjoy gaming because I had a kind of a rut where I wasn't enjoying it, which happens to me pretty
oh yeah,
infrequently. I'll be like, I'm not really feeling gaming, so I'll do something else as a hobby, and then I'll come
for
back
sure.
to
Yeah,
it. So
I get into a rut from time to time too. I've been there. I was there like honestly when I started Persona 3 for the first time. I felt like I was there because I just come off of Metaphor. I was blazing through a bunch of games for Game of the Year, and I loved all of them. But like, it was kind of a chore to sit down and go like, I really should see what this is.
yeah, a lot of big games. Yeah.
A lot of big games. I played a lot of new stuff last year, so I mean, boo-hoo me. I played a lot of fun stuff, But this is the first time this year I felt like pretty satisfied with something all the way through this week, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. Besides that, how's your week been going? I mean, you've been doing anything else besides that?
Just hanging
Working
out,
and living.
working
and living, living and working?
playing
Same
Magic
here.
the Gathering. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk to me about your card shop. I don't know. What's the name of it? Where is it? I guess. Well, you don't have to dox yourself.
Yeah, I won't dox myself, but necessarily, but
Yeah, I want to kind of know about your setup.
yeah. No, I go to a shop that's local with a few buddies of mine here frequent it. But I mean, it's kind of like that classic mom and pop shop. So
Yeah.
I literally know the store owner, his wife, and all the employees there. Like, so
Nice.
I've literally sat down
That's
and
always
played
nice.
Magic the Gathering with the owner of the store. So he's a chill guy. Everyone who I've encountered that's like involved with the store is chill. There's obviously those players that come in and they're like, oh, I just want to win, and so those guys,
Yeah.
they're whatever. You just go next.
Right.
They
right.
stop you from
Yeah,
playing
if
the
you're-
game. You just go next.
Sure. If people like that suck. Like
Yeah.
most of that stuff, that appointment gaming is socializing.
Yeah.
When people kind of like lose that thrust, it gets really annoying. They go like, "Oh, you're missing the point. We're playing a game," and you're like, "Well, I'm just here to kind of socialize."
I just want to
like,
see.
why are you...
Yeah, I want to hang out with people. I want to see people's cards. I'm not here to like win every time. If I pick up a game here and there, which I do, then great. But like, I'm mostly there just to see people's cards. So I play in a way that directly allows people to play their cards, so I can see their deck and see what their deck does. So
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to learn except for playing against their different strategies and
yeah,
stuff?
yeah, it's fun to
I'm
see their different strategies. I don't want to play like to where nobody's allowed to do anything. But there's people that come in. That's what they do. That's what they enjoy doing is stopping other people from playing the game. So
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
in
for
a
sure.
casual setting, like in a competitive setting. Like play your stun, your control all day long in a competitive setting. Heck, I love playing control. I love playing that kind of strategy when I'm like sitting down at my PC playing like a competitive TCG online. But when I'm
Yeah.
at a card shop, just like hanging out, I'm not there to sweat my balls off. I'm just there to see some cards.
Yeah, why would you? I mean, not every game needs to be sweaty. I mean, I pride myself on being a kind of single player game focused player.
Sure.
Like I will do multiplayer from time to time. Like we played a few hours Monster Hunter each, This well, you played more than I did for sure, and we'll talk about that at the top of the show for sure. But most of the time, I am playing by myself and am sometimes in chats with people. But I just, whenever I want to cooperate and be with people, I want to socialize. But I'm not
Yeah.
trying to. The game is like the, it's the platform.
Yes.
It's the platform for
Yes.
yeah, it is the forum for our discussion purely.
Yep.
So, I mean, half the time I feel like I'm not even talking about the game. So.
Yeah. Yeah, if I want to dig
Yeah.
into the mechanics of a game, then I'm gonna like go to a tournament or play
Sure.
online or something. But if I want to just hang out with people, I'm just gonna play my cards.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I mean, living and working. I've been living hard this week, and not like in the ooh, I'm partying it up, whatever. I slept wrong a couple nights ago, and my neck is just shot. It's just shot. Today's better than yesterday. Yesterday was just awful. I couldn't even like turn my head to the left. Like, it was tough. I think it has to do with my pillow. I need a new pillow. I don't know what to get. I think I'm gonna just go to Target this weekend and get something. But it's just one of those things where like I've had this pillow for so long, it has been comfortable, but I've had these times where I am just laying down and I wake up and my neck is just completely shot. I don't know if you've ever had that. It's just like back and neck pain is like the worst pain you can
Yep.
have.
Oh yeah, I've woke up on the wrong side of the bed a lot of times with the neck pain and stuff, back pain.
Yeah.
Yep. That's just all part of the program when you're
Ugh.
aging.
Life is pain. Life is literally pain, though.
Yeah.
And people are not lying about that. And my back went out this week too, and I didn't even do anything. Like, I think and I think a lot of it has to do also. My shoes are like getting worn down, and they're my favorite pair of shoes. So I like slip them on whenever I'm taking the dogs out, whatever. I mean, getting the mail. I've been doing a bad habit of wearing them to work, and I know I shouldn't be because they're these nice pair of Adidases. They're like these black pair of Adidases that I love. They're so comfy. They're easy to slip on and off. I mean, they're like the best shoes I've ever bought. But like the soles are getting so worn, like the actual tread on them is like disappearing. I mean, it looks like when you ball your tire or something, or you need to change your tire. It looks like that.
Yeah.
It literally does. So I'm like, I should just see if they have this style still because I love it so much. But I'm a mess. I'm a mess this week. So honestly, video games have kind of been a balm. And then on top of that, tonight, I promise we'll get to video games at some point. But I was making chicken in the oven. Okay, making meat, potatoes, whatever, just easy stuff for the family. I take a pan out. The oven's smoking because our oven sucks and everything is just. It's a mess. It's just a mess. Like there's smoke coming out of the oven. Nothing burned. It's just the oven's crappy. I put the pan. It has a glass pan over the top just to kind of keep the chicken from going over. Whatever. TMI. It doesn't matter. I put the pan in the sink. It's a hot ass pan. It's hot.
Yeah.
I don't run any water on it because I know this has happened before where hot pan, cold water, it shatters. Right. Yeah. Obviously. I mean, it's a change of pressure, change of temperature sort of thing. I don't even do that. I had finished dishes like 20 minutes prior to this. I was like, okay, there shouldn't be any issue if I just put this in here because I just got to get this chicken out of the oven. I put the glass pan in the sink. Shatters immediately, dude. Shatters. Yeah. In my sink. I was like,
no.
I was like, is it cold enough for this to happen? Like, I didn't even understand what happened.
Yeah, I
guess
that kind of makes sense that could happen, but like you don't think about that. Like
no.
How are you supposed to think about that? Going. Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
I've had it worse though, where, literally like a pan broke on me as I was getting it out of the oven. Like I didn't even drop it; it broke in my hands.
Yeah.
That happened before. I had like an oven mitt on, and it just like shattered. I was like, "What?" And so there's like hot glass all over the ground. It was a mess. This was in my apartment, but it's been a night. It's been the last couple of days, so I'm happy to kind of decompress. The kid and the wife are going out of town tomorrow to go see her sister, and it's just kind of waiting for the weekend to just like settle in and forget my trials as a person because it's been a tough one.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. But yeah. We're here, we're living it, and we've really been living that Monster Hunter life. Monster Hunter Wilds came out It come out on Thursday night, technically.
Yeah, I
Um,
played like a
I did not.
splashing of it Thursday
Yeah.
night, but
I sometimes I'll do the midnight thing. Sometimes I won't. It's like 11 here for me whenever games unlock. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I won't because I pre-ordered it. I just I was so into Persona. I was like, I need to just blast through this. I'm not going to start it yet, so I started it on like Friday and play with you guys on the weekend. Um, but yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds. You've played more of it than I have, so kind of give me like your just impressions of it, where you're at, what you're using, kind of what you found in the game that you've enjoyed the most, the things that you don't like. Kind of give me a brief overview of your time with Monster Hunter Wilds. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean it's been a lot of fun. I've been playing it with a few people on and off, and but I've just kind of been blasting through it. I've I'm around hunter rank 35ish.
Oh wow, yeah.
So pretty high up there into high rank. Um, and yeah, I've just been running around with the good old hunting horn. That's my go-to.
We'll stand by for sure.
Yep, been playing that since I got into the series with 4, and I mean I play a lot of weapons. I play great sword. I play bow. I play swags, but um,
Wax, I like it.
yeah, switch axe. But I mean, hunting horn is just my old standby. They kind of mess with it in World, and I remember not using it a whole lot in World. They messed with it a little bit, and I didn't really like what they did with it. And also, World was horrible to get around because they didn't have any sort of mount, and so I ended up using Lance throughout that whole like playthrough. That's the only game I've ever used Lance, and I used Lance specifically because it had a dash move. That's the only reason why I was using Lance. I had fun with it. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed using Lance in the game, but I don't think I'd ever use Lance again. It's not really my cup of tea, but
I mean, I ran Insect Glaive, and I have since 4 as well, and that helps getting around too in World. But
sure.
Once you play Rise, and Rise has its issues too. Monster Hunter Rise, the mount is just it changes the game, you know. So not having that, it's hard. It's hard to go back to World because of it.
Rise made it to where you didn't even have to play Hunting Horn to play Hunting Horn. Like it was, it basically the Hunting Horn played itself, and I did not enjoy that. There was no complexity to the button presses, to the combos. It would just like they streamlined with the gameplay of it way too much. The weapon didn't feel good. I ended up running a lot of I think I used a lot of greatsword in that one. Maybe some bow. And my last playthrough I did of Rise, I ended up using a lot of gun lance actually because I didn't like using the dog, but I needed to keep up with people using the dog. And so I would use gun lance to get around because you can kind of fly around the map with gun lance. So, so mobility is an important part of weapons.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah,
so,
especially in Wilds. Wilds is
so,
the Wilds traversal is the best.
Yeah, with Wilds,
been, I think.
I mean, the mount in Wilds is just perfect, right? Because you can have your cat, you can have your mount, and it's great. It's great. Your mount works like an actual like horse sort of thing to where you can like attack from it. You can you jump off it to do a jumping attack. You can, and it auto pilots you to wherever you need to go. Super nice. Like haters gonna hate, right? They think the game plays itself or whatever, but as somebody who's played since 4, which that I think that makes me a veteran player. I have no issue with the autopilot to the monster, to the objective. Like, I just want to shut my brain off. I want to hunt these monsters. If I want to play a deep simulation hunting game, I'll go back and play Monster Hunter 2. Like,
Dose. I mean, any of the other ones, really, besides the two most recent ones. I mean, just to interject a little bit, like, people are having an issue with, like you said, the autopilot sort of thing. Like, basically, your little mount is like this lizard bird thing called Sacred, and there's a function where you press up on the D-pad or on the key, whatever you want, and it just zips you to the monster's location.
Yeah.
Like the hunting aspect of it is not so much the searching for, because you know where this thing's going to be, and it'll get you there no problem. I mean, you can take your foot off the gas at any point and just pilot it.
Yep.
You know, it's not a problem. Especially when you want to just do roaming.
Yep.
You can just look around, whatever. But it has an autopilot function, and people are complaining about this, saying, "Oh, you're taking the hunting out of Monster Hunter." I'm like, you're still doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it's cutting down on some of the tedium of getting around, the geography. I think it's fine. Personally, I think it's fine. I have no issue with it. Honestly, it's nice to kind of take stock of what you have, put on autopilot, sharpen when you need to, that sort of thing. Like, it cuts down on unnecessary button presses. I like it.
Absolutely, yeah. And 9 times out of 10, if I'm playing a Monster Hunter game, I just want to fight the monsters. Like, I don't want to do the whole tracking them down like you had to do in World, with all the trails and things like that, It was fun for what it was. It was a nice novelty, but it's not my go-to. World has never been my go-to. Yeah. World is a fun, enjoyable game, but it's not my go-to if I want to shut my brain off. If I want to shut my brain off and play Monster Hunter, I'm going to boot up my Switch and play Generations. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Sure.
I play Generations if I want to play a Monster Hunter game with all the old mechanics. I'm just going to boot up Generations. If I want to, but if I want to play, a streamlined experience with all the new modernizations, I'm booting up Wilds from now on. Like, that's just going to be my go-to, because the game has surpassed World, has surpassed Rise in how it streamlines the experience to the monster. Rise almost was there. It was almost there, but they had the stupid Spear Birds.
No, you don't like those.
Those stupid things. I mean, you just waste so much of your life running around the map pointlessly, aimlessly, collecting those Spear Birds anytime you get into a new hunt. It's like, come on, guys. What were you thinking? This isn't fun. This isn't engaging gameplay. Have me do that once for a new map, sure, to learn the new map, fine.
Sure.
But then don't make me do it every single time I load into a hunt. Come on.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about this game, is that it is streamlined. It is the essential parts of Monster Hunter. Like, they're cutting away the cruft in a way. And, it's nice that you personally can embrace all sides of Monster Hunter and say, I like this thing about it, I like this. Yeah. But, like, this feels like the best distillation, or like the crystallization of Monster Hunter as an idea. Like, this is the best version of what they have been trying to do. Yeah. I think, like you said, for the old mechanics, Generations, perfect. It's like everything's set in stone. If you want those games, go back to it.
Yes.
Like, that game is perfectly fine, perfectly playable on a modern platform. Like you said, Rise has its issues. World has its issues. Wilds is like, it lives somewhere in between, and it takes the best parts of both without, taking away the tactical nature of actually fighting and killing the monsters, harvesting them, that sort of thing. I will say for myself, and of course I'll let you continue because you have more experience with the game. I'll say for myself, I think they've made the glaive better, because that's what I use. And for people that haven't played Monster Hunter, this is kind of how it is. It's like a fighting game. You really just pick your thing you want to specialize in, or a couple weapons you specialize in, and you learn it. I mean, that's just what you do. And you can experiment as much as you like. It's really up to you. And in this one, it really encourages exploration, because I don't believe in Rise it had this. It has a secondary weapon
Brand
option
new mechanic,
for your sacred. Yeah. You can put another weapon on your mount and switch them at will. And actually, when we were fighting a monster, you checked this out. You found an exploit with your hunting horn. Kind of talk about that. That was maybe the most mind-blowing part of the early part of our hunt.
Yeah, so just kind of like one of those emergent gameplay sort of scenarios.
It really was. We kind of found out,
they present you with a toolbox, and they say, okay, you're allowed to have 2 weapons. Most people go and they think, okay, so I can have a longsword and a greatsword. Great. Now when I want to switch it up, I can choose my longsword or my greatsword. I have both on me at all times. This is fun. Right. What I got to thinking was, well, what if I could have 2 of the same weapon? Like 2 hunting horns? So I slapped on 2 hunting horns. I'm like, okay, great. I have 2 hunting horns. Hunting horn is one of those weapons that not only does each hunting horn do different things, right? Have different different elements, different statuses, like any other weapon. Hunting horns have different songs, and those songs linger. They have lingering buff effects. So, I figured out you can run 2 hunting horns and apply the buffs for both sets of songs at the same time if you're cycling them quick enough.
Yeah, it was frankly game breaking, especially the early game. So not all the time. Every Monster Hunter fight takes, however long it takes, but even in the early game, it takes, like, if you're by yourself or with the party, without this exploit at least, it takes maybe 10, 11 minutes to kill a boss, maybe. We were getting it down to like 5-6 minutes because of this, and we were just shredding them. And I don't know if you like took that with you forward, like if that even made a difference. Okay.
Yeah, no, going forward, I mean, in the early game, it was really funny because I had the attack up small stacked with an echo bubble, which is a new mechanic in this game, that basically anyone inside the bubble was getting attack and affinity up. So, and those were stacking attack boosts. So people were essentially getting 2 different attack boosts from me, which it's like early game, like Pokemon. Like if you buff your defense or lower it, or buff your attack or lower it, it's a huge difference in that early game for those damage numbers and those thresholds and values. And so we were just absolutely shredding through these things. It was hilarious. And I mean, the echo bubble mechanic is fantastic too, because each horn also has like a unique echo bubble, and there's a ton of different echo bubble effects. And one of the ones that I played messed with in the later half of my playthrough, because I only have found one with that attack and affinity up right now, and it's kind of like a healing oriented one.
Okay.
So it doesn't like do as many interesting buffs for me, so I end up switching off that later on. But I was finding ones that could put down like an echo bubble for healing, for health regeneration. So anyone who is like taking damage could just sit inside the health regeneration bubble and just heal up the damage. So it was kind of funny because I'm about, I'd say, halfway through high rank right now, and for the first half of high rank, I challenged myself to only heal using my hunting horn. So I wasn't using potions at all. But then we were kind of punching up on a monster. I'm like, okay, this guy, I'm gonna have to start using some potions. So, but
I like that about you. You impose challenges upon yourself. I like that, because it's like no one asked you to do this. You're just like, I'm a man. You don't think I'm a man?
It's funny. I didn't even do it as a challenge. I just thought it was really funny to not use potions, and I'd like complain like, man, if only I could use a potion, If only I was bringing potions with me. Yeah.
That's really good.
Funny. Yeah, but.
Sorry. Continue.
No, I was just gonna say the 2 weapon system, at least for hunting horn, brings a lot of emergent gameplay. Stack that with the changes they did compared to Rise. In Rise, the hunting horn played itself. In Wilds, they've gone back to the system to where you have to do unique button combinations for each song, and they also added in the echo bubble mechanic, which is really fun. You just put that down, and not only does it do a buff for your team, but any songs that you play also do extra damage to the monster.
Oh wow!
When it's standing in that echo bubble. So there's so many layers to the hunting horn. Combine that with the weapon switching system, and the weapon just becomes like this like strategic sort of combo-y weapon, and you just always have something to do. Basically, you're never just sitting there just attacking the monster. You're thinking, okay, I need to apply this buff next. I need to apply this buff next. I need to get this echo bubble down next. I need to heal these people next, you know.
Yeah, you're always just playing an MMO with cooldowns.
Yes.
That's all you're doing.
You are literally just playing an MMO when you're playing the Hunting Horn in this game, and it's a lot of fun. As somebody who really likes that sort of MMO gameplay, it's a lot of fun for me as a long-time user.
Yeah, you would like Xenoblade if you like that. I mean, literally, like that's
I know.
what Xenoblade is.
I've played a little bit of Xenoblade before. I know what it is. Yeah,
it's definitely that. So yeah, I mean, to kind of get out of the specialized talk a little bit because we are talking about our weapons. Not everyone's going to play those weapons. Just real quick for me, I play Insect Glaive. I love Insect Glaive. I think they've really dialed in this time. They've changed some of the HUD elements, so it's easier to kind of see where to target a monster, along with the wound system. It makes for a really engaging gameplay, especially for me because you have to buff up your weapon. Excuse me, with 3 different, kind of like insect glaive. What do you call them?
Oh,
they're like
what is that mechanic?
Yeah, it's like the little bug drone that you have.
You have the Kinsect.
You kind of send it out. Yeah, the insect, the Kinsect. That's what it's called.
Kinsect,
you attack the head, the leg, and then I think the body, and they give you different buffs on your like a 3-pip system. And then once you fill up, you can do a bunch of combos and stuff. It's really satisfying to kind of build that up every time. I'm really enjoying the scale of the bosses as well. Like at the beginning, like you're doing with a lot of like kind of mid-range enemies, and they kind of slowly get larger as you kind of play, and then you're kind of stumbling upon these really cinematic fights. I think like the presentation of Wilds is just off the charts. Like they're doing a lot of set piece stuff in a way I didn't see coming, and I think I should have because coming from Rise, it is a smaller scale game. It feels like a Switch game. Because it is ultimately a Switch game, but with the limitations of the hardware, and of course they ported it to PC and newer consoles. Besides that, with the limitations that they had for Rise, it's cool to see them flex their muscles with the cinema that is hunting a monster. I think of the early game where you. What is it? You fight like the Raidao and stuff, and like there's like a lightning storm, and it's awesome. I mean, it's so cool. But yeah, I guess what's your favorite part of the game, and what's your least favorite part? Because I think my favorite part is just going into a monster, seeing its cutscene, and going like, "This is nuts! I can't wait to fight this thing after this." Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the best part about it's the fishing, right? It's got to be the fishing. They changed the
Focus
fishing
on the right things. Yes.
game. I mean, it's so much more difficult to reel in those large fish now. You have to actually like maneuver the fish, and you gotta kind of lead the fish a bit, and you gotta keep it away from obstacles, and then you gotta have the right timing to start reeling it in once it stops fighting. So I mean, it's a pretty emergent, fishing minigame. So it's pretty good. I've done all of the quests I have so far for the fishing. But
that's his
besides
favorite part of the game is the fishing.
No, I'm just an enjoyer of fishing mechanics in games. And
hey, what's wrong with that? You like web fishing? You like that? I like the fishing in Yakuza. I mean, hey, fishing's good.
I might talk about another game's fishing later, but
okay. I'm into that.
No, I'd say probably the best part of this game for me has just been like the seamless integration of the multiplayer. Like, it's so easy to just join in on your friends. They have the new Link Party system, and you can just set that up with 3 of your buddies, and you can just, whenever you get a quest, everyone gets notified, and you can all just jump in. It's great. You can have a squad of people as well, so everyone can see when everyone's online. And so they've just really gotten down the multiplayer aspects. And from what I've heard, they don't have a hub area yet for everyone to like hang out in and to like eat meals and stuff. From what I've heard, they're planning on implementing one soon. So
really interesting.
Just like the other games, yeah, because like that's all they're really missing is like that big hub area for everyone to like hang out in. Like they have like the camps that you could hang out in, but
they're pretty small. They're pretty small.
Yeah, they're not too interesting.
I like that about World, where it's like there's different levels to that main hub, at least for the early game. And then in Rise, they have kind of like the main hub base that everything kind of spokes off of, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, like the world itself is really seamless. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can just leave a camp and just go. I mean, you can really just do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel. I will say, you know, there are like loading screens chopping up like the sectors of the game for sure, but like they have pretty large open zones with camps and mini camps
Oh,
in
yeah.
between. It's pretty. It feels like a wide game. It doesn't feel like a deep game like
Yeah.
World was. Like World feels like it was kind of stacked, it was like a pancake. Where this feels like, I don't know, like a highway or something with like
Yeah.
a lot of lanes. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's an open zone game. It's not an open world game, and I'm glad for that.
Yep.
I don't want it to
Me
be
too.
an open world game. I like the mission based. You have this task, go do this.
Yes.
and then you just go out into the zone, the open zone, and you go find the thing that you need to hunt. Like that's the gameplay loop. That's what we want. Keep at it.
Yeah, yeah. I just, I think they really did it. Like I mean, World was huge, and we talked about this before. It's Capcom's best-selling game. Wilds was immediately profitable for them, immediately successful.
Yep.
I think it's like fourth all time on Steam concurrence for its peak. I think something like that.
Yeah.
It's top 10 for sure. So, I mean, people are just loving it. They're
It's
just
because it's a
loving
good
it.
game. It's a game for
It is a
everyone.
great game.
Yeah.
And the people that complain about it, they're not complaining too much because the game itself is real fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not
It's
every
hard
game
to
is perfect
complain
for
about
everybody,
it.
but
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I think they just it's really comforting to see a game like when you see Wilds announced, you're like, because for the longest time you're like, when is World 2 coming? When is World? Because we saw Rise and we're like, okay, this is a downgrade in some ways and an upgrade in some other ways. What's actual World 2 look like? What does that look like? And then you see it and you're like, I immediately know this is going to be good. And then when it comes
Yes.
and to have that fulfilled, it feels amazing. Like sometimes games don't do that.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
I
You
mean, Capcom's
worry-
track record has been stellar.
Right, yeah, with Capcom, I mean, you don't have to worry that much usually, but like with games, you
Yeah.
know, you're like worry like, is the next entry, in the series gonna hit the target, or is it gonna come out a buggy mess, but Capcom, you don't usually have to worry about that. They're
Especially
like
not
Nintendo
nowadays.
on that. They're pretty solid on releasing a game and having it be a complete and working game. So
You know what? That's actually a really good comparison. I like that. They feel like Nintendo, where they have like this stable of iconic franchises
Yep.
like Street Fighter, Monster Hunter,
Yep.
I mean Mega Man, whatever you want to say, Resident Evil. Like
yeah,
everybody loves their IP. They feel like Nintendo like that way, where they polish everything to a shining sheen, and they release it not bug free, but like with like crystal clear polish. I've never thought of it that way, but that feels right. Yeah.
heck, they've even
they've
worked
just-
on Smash Bros before, so
Right. I mean, just Capcom, at least since Street Fighter V, they have not missed. Like, 5 is not it's not the best Street Fighter game. There's a lot of problems with 5. It's a downgrade from 4, especially. But ever since, like, they broke away from 5, Street Fighter 5, they have been just nailing things. They've been just killing it. Everything they're like King Midas. Everything they've touched has just turned into gold,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and they're bringing back old franchises like Onimusha. I mean, it's just like they're in this like, it feels like they're in their golden era, which is weird to say because they have such a rich history of releasing amazing games. I feel like it really started when they started remastering the Resident Evil stuff. It feels like Resident Evil 2 was like their big thing. Like, hey, we are remaking one of the best games ever, and we're going to put it in a way where we are completely redoing it, new assets, new characters, new perspective, everything. And they just keep nailing all the things that they set out. Devil May Cry 5, amazing video game. If you haven't played that, it's probably the best one besides 3.
I've never played a Devil May Cry.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I need to finish 5. I need to go through the whole series because the anime is coming out on Netflix. I do want to see that. But anyway, they've just nailed all their stuff, all their revitalizations of their old franchises. They're doing it. They're doing it better than they ever have. People are petitioning them to bring back Dino Crisis, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Especially when Exoprimal came out. That's very funny. And Exoprimal's not a miss, but it's like one of their like lower quality titles for sure. But it's still a good game. I played Exoprimal. It's a good game.
Yeah.
They don't make bad games really. It's been a while since they've done that. I mean, gone are the days of making Mega Man X or Mega Man 7 or something where their game is just outright bad. Like it doesn't happen.
No,
You know?
they don't really do that anymore.
They don't. And they've been probably the most consistent with Monster Hunter on the whole, like iteration upon iteration. Each game gets better and better. And I feel like this is the pinnacle of what they have done so far with the series. I really like this game a lot. Feels like an early game of the year contender. It really does. So, yeah. I don't have a ton of thoughts about it in general besides what I've said. Like, I'm pretty early. I'm about 8 to 10 hours in. I forget exactly where I'm at. You've put how many hours? 30 what?
Like 34. Yeah.
34, which is a lot since this past weekend. I mean, you've been knocking it out for sure. I've been, like I mentioned,
friends, so.
Yeah, I've been spending my time elsewhere for sure. But I will be back this weekend to grind some more stuff and finish the story hopefully. So, any other thoughts on Monster Hunter or any good or bad things about it you want to talk about?
I mean, not really nothing. I mean, it's just got that core gameplay, and I think they've finally got it refined to where the game really is just super accessible to anyone who wants to pick up and try this game and enjoy it with friends. It's really what it's about. It's a social game, I think. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to just pick up and play, find a cool weapon, and slay some monsters.
I do think the one thing I do not like, and this is something they've carried over from World, and I don't know if you agree or not. I think the story progression stuff when it comes to your party joining your missions still isn't perfect. Like, if you are behind somebody and they're taking on a fight further than you, you can't join them until you have at least met their where they're at, basically, which kind of stinks. So, like, when you're playing with people, you kind of have to always play behind, or if you finish the campaign, you can kind of play whatever, right?
Yeah, but
depending on hunter rank too, especially for the later game stuff. But
they want you to play the whole game in the way they intend it. They'll let you, like, the most they'll do is they'll let you punch up when you're like in that open zone mode. If you see something that's too high of like a hunter rank for you, they'll say you're not allowed to create a quest to slay it, but they'll let you go fight that thing. You can fight it, you can carve it, you just won't get any quest rewards for it.
Gotcha.
I've done that, like, just to go challenge myself. Like, yeah, okay, I'm not high enough hunter rank for this. I want to go fight this thing anyways.
Right, and it's not like a huge detriment to my enjoyment. It's not that. I've recognized that it is a holdover from World because, like you said, they have a specific way they want you to play through at least the campaign, and then everything is kind of like, everyone's going to play how they play to do the higher rank stuff. It's usually not as strict towards the end of the game, but yeah, we love Monster Hunter Wilds. We will be playing it for a while. I think it's going to be a game we keep returning to this year because they've already announced their April content for this.
Yeah, they'll be adding more monsters, more quests, more stuff, and then they always do like a big DLC late into the game's life. So
there'll be crossovers probably like they did the Final Fantasy crossover and like Rise, I think it was.
They're always fun. They're always really goofy crossovers. Like they barely ever do like a serious crossover. It's always like really like jarring to see, and I think that's the best part about this game is that the types of jarring things you can do, like especially now with like the character creator being so open-ended as it is. Like, I just cranked the voice pitch on my character all the way up so they sound like a chipmunk. It's hilarious in cutscenes.
Yeah. That's also something I wanted to bring up too. The character creator is amazing. And all their presets are really, really attractive. But you can also make like abominations. I love that. There's a great YouTube channel I love. Well, It's a family of creators, the McElroys. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They have a series called Monster Factory where they play a game's character creators and make the worst things ever, and they give them like backgrounds and histories. It's so good, so
That's
good.
fun.
This is a good Monster Factory sort of game. And then they like play through the game with like this abomination.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's Monster Hunter Worlds or Wilds. Sorry, not Worlds. It's Monster Hunter Wilds. And yeah, I'll be returning to it again shortly. And you said you're what's the top of the hunter rank? Like how high can you get?
I don't
60
know.
something?
No,
Okay.
it probably doesn't have too much of a limit. Usually it just like keeps going up from what I remember.
Oh,
so-
okay. I didn't know there's a light cap on it or okay.
Yeah, I don't remember there being a cap on it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Fun game, awesome game, really well made. Yeah, let's move to the odds and ends. We've been kind of playing some other stuff besides Wilds. Wilds been the lion's share, at least for you, not as much for me, but we both put a considerable amount of time into it. But yeah, you have some stuff kind of in the background. I wanted to talk about the first thing, the snafu, because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
In the doc that we have, the notes. I was basically week to week. I ask Noah what he's been playing, this and that. Like I'm gonna assemble the notes. What have you been playing? He wrote "Destroy All Humans," and then
Colon.
basically like I
They can't be
misunderstood him.
regenerated, Yeah.
Yeah, destroy all humans. They can't be regenerated. I saw it as destroy all humans, the game, and then they can't be regenerated is the manga.
Uh-huh.
It's one name, so I'm like, destroy all humans. Hell yeah, dude! Like that's a good game.
Like even if you like Google this manga, you the first thing you get, unless if you type out the whole thing, you're gonna get the game.
Yeah.
But
Right.
if you type out the whole
Right.
thing, then you get the manga. But it's
Fix your SEO, manga guy. You know.
I guess we can talk about both of these real quick. So Destroy All Humans, yeah, I know what it is. Like it's a
Yeah, for sure.
classic, game, cult classic.
Yeah. Play an
I-
alien. And, it's great.
Yeah, it's actually something that I have wanted to check out for a while. I just haven't got around to it, but
Very
seems
goofy,
like
very
it's
fun. It's
a lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those B games that you play. You're like,
Oh, yeah.
this thing is such a 7. Like we're just skating on sevens
yeah.
here, but it's super fun. It's super fun.
It's like that. What's that? That one that a lot of people have been playing. That's also like alien related. Gosh, Space Defense
Oh.
Force 6 or something
oh,
like that.
EDF, yeah.
Earth Defense Force 6. There we go. I almost said
Yes.
it. Earth Defense Force 6. Yeah, people have been playing
You
that
want-
a lot.
Sevens is generous. Those games are
Yeah,
kind of
those games are kind of like you play them for the jank. Like you
Yeah.
know what you're getting into when you boot up a game like that. But I've played
Yeah.
my fair share of games. I mean, I'm the PlayStation 1 jank guy, right? I'm the Bubsy 3D guy, so I'm
That's
the
fun.
Iggy's Wrecking Balls guy. Like I like my
Right,
janks,
but like
so.
okay, so you play games with craft. I don't think EDF has a shred of craft or tact to it. It is just I don't even know if they've updated like the engine of that game since the 360 days. And no one cares because they sell gangbusters and people just want to kill space bugs.
Yeah.
Cool, that's great. But like they are not lookers. They don't run well.
No.
I'm sure they're fun. They're ridiculous.
Oh,
They have a million enemies. It's one of those games that just are like, man, they just made a business off of this stuff and they just crank them out. That's how it feels.
That's fair, but I mean, I don't mind games with jank. I don't mind games that kind of suck at the gameplay. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like that with my favorite Persona game, Persona 3. I think that the gameplay is pretty awful in most of those games, to me at least. I think
Yeah,
5
sure.
has the best gameplay of that series, but the story is amazing in that game. Music's amazing in that game, so I just adore that game. But
Yeah.
I'm the same way with another one of my favorite games, like Pathologic on PC. I adore that game, that classic Pathologic, and but gameplay is awful. It's a walking simulator essentially, and even like the story is like nonsensical. You play that game for the atmosphere, really. And it's
Right.
such an atmospheric experience. Like you get sucked into it. If you let that game suck you in, like you just get grossed in that game's lore, in that game's world. Like the world, the
Yeah.
lore, the pacing of it, the eeriness, the dread, all of that's there.
Yeah.
The story,
You should talk
not so
about
much.
Pathologic sometime, like at length. I would like to hear,
Oh yeah,
about your.
I need to do like a crash course on it or something. I adore that
That'd be
game.
cool. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. And fun thing, I guess I accidentally bought it on a Fanatical deal, so I dropped an old code for that in one of our chats. I don't know who picked it up. Somebody did, but it was Pathologic Classic.
Yeah.
You know, the one that you like.
That's a great game.
But yeah, I've yet to play it. I have 2 and 1, and I have like the remaster kind of like update for Pathologic 2, and I think they're like remaking it too, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they are.
Pathologic 2 is like a remake of Pathologic 1, basically. I know that much.
I thought they were doing something new with Pathologic though. As far as that's what I heard.
I mean, it's
Okay.
a good franchise, and like the studio makes it. That's like their one claim to fame. So like,
Yeah.
they just are gonna keep going with it, and that's great for them.
Yeah, I heard they were doing something with it. I'm not privy to it, but yeah, one of those missing things for me.
All
But
that
anyway.
to say that bad games can be enjoyable in the
Sure.
right perspective, in the right, person's hands. But
Yeah.
then there's games. You have games like that, right? Then you have games like your Monster Hunter Wilds, like your Metaphor Ray Fantasio. Those games are like, no, these games are just for everyone, and everyone should
Yep.
pick up and play these games. These are games that are hard to say that, somebody can't enjoy it. Like, if you can't find some kind of enjoyment in the game, then, like, I don't know what to tell
Yeah.
you. Like,
It's a quality thing. It's
Yeah.
just like a quality bar that like those games clear and they hurdle with
Yeah.
ease. There's just a lot of games that are on that budget tier that they're just like, you have interesting ideas. On the gameplay front, you're not like amazing, but I respect you. Like that's
yeah.
swimming, skiing, and sevens, whatever you want to call it. Like that's where those games live.
Yeah.
That's where like an EDF lives, where it's actually lower tier than that. But games that have interesting mechanics, ideas, presentation, but aren't like the most clean package of all time.
Oh,
You know, I like those games for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess so. I think you should talk about Straw Humans when we do the stuff later,
Yeah.
because we'll kind of have like a hobby wrap up.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
You've been playing Zenless Zone Zero though, right?
Oh, yeah, I have. Oh, my god.
Yeah, talk to me about that.
All right. Yep, I had a couple friends that have been playing it, and
Sure.
I have one friend that's been playing it for on and off for a while, and I've always been of the mind that, it's probably just like a worse version of Genshin Impact. I've already played hours and hours and hours of Genshin Impact. I really enjoy Genshin Impact, but I've probably talked about it on the pod a little bit before, my gameplay experience with Genshin, but if I haven't, I played it pretty much since like launch all the way up through like Inazuma, and then I just kind of fell off the game. Came back to it every now and then, but that game is just huge. It's a huge game. So
Yeah,
much
it is.
content. It's really good
It's kind of
content.
daunting, honestly.
Yeah, it's really good content. I even kind of enjoy the story of it. I think it's a serviceable story, but and the characters, I mean, they're designed to be likable characters. So like, it's hard not to find a character that you enjoy, playing with, considering that it's got such a huge roster and variety of characters. But it just all the combination of like all the dailies and all the open world and all the just so much content in that game, I just kind of had to put it down. The thing that was taking so much time up for me though in that game, probably the reason why I had to put it down, was the in-game TCG in that game. It's much fun. It's one of the best digital TCGs I've ever played. Better than any other digital TCG I've played. I can confidently say it's so much fun for me. I love the mechanics.
That's the thing. That's the thing about Genshin, though. Like, it's so appealing because they actually made a good game.
Yeah.
With gacha mechanics, though. Like, it's so appealing to people because the quality bar is so high.
Yes.
They clear it every time they put something out. Like, that's why I've stayed away from it personally, because I like money, and I know I'll spend it in a game like that because it is so attractive, right? And I played my quick encounter with it is I put 50 minutes into it, and I went, oh no, I need
This
to
is
stop
fun
now. Yes.
Oh no, I'm having
Yes.
fun in the
Yes.
gacha anime Breath of the Wild clone.
Yep, and I was just like, I'm just gonna stop while I'm ahead. And this was around launch too, and I'm like, these MiHoYo games, they're like the presentation's immaculate.
Yeah.
Like the game is fun, and this is, I mean, there's Genshin, there's Honkai Star Rail, and then there's Zenless Zone Zero. It's like these gacha games with like different, you know, wrappings around them. Like for instance, Zenless Zone Zero is like an action game. Genshin's like a Breath of the Wild open world game, and then Honkai's like a turn-based tactical game, right? So they kind of have different flavors, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was kind of interesting around launch. I won't get too deep into Genshin, but like how even like before launch, everyone's like, "Oh, this crazy, you know, Chinese Breath of the Wild ripoff has been spotted. It uses anime characters, and it's just a complete asset ripoff of Breath of the Wild. Stay away from this thing." You know, I'd see news articles all the time like that when the game was like, you know, in like the before even like the alpha of the game was released, and I was always of the mind of like, hey, I just got off like playing. I got done playing Breath of the Wild. I want to play more Breath of the Wild. If they're giving me more Breath of the Wild, I'm gonna play this game. I don't care if it's a anime asset ripoff or whatever they're saying. It didn't end up being any of that. It really doesn't play anything like Breath of the Wild other than having like a stamina bar and letting you
That's climb really
things. It has a stamina bar and it lets you climb things.
That's the only hallmarks of Breath of the Wild. It is literally that in the open world. And and like the design of the open world is not one to one. It's inspired definitely, but it's got nothing to do with it.
It's cell shaded.
Yep.
The only like similarity is that it's cell shaded. Like even like the shading style though it's a lot less realistic looking than Breath of the Wild. It's a lot more stylized, I'd say, than
way more stylized and cleaner and different. It's
poppy.
Just different thing.
It's more poppy than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's more like of a, you know, like a naturalistic, you know, style. You know,
naturalistic pastel.
Yes.
There is some cell shading, but it's not as heavy.
Yes.
You know,
Genshin is just full on cell shading and full on poppy anime in your face. That's what they decided for the game. That's fine.
And it's apples and oranges. I mean, they're both fruits, but they're different. They're different strains. I mean, they're completely different.
They're both open world games, but they play completely different. The puzzles are completely different. Yeah,
that's definitely the point.
But they're both fun. They're both great games, and I'd love to return to Genshin to complete that story someday. But for now, I'm on Zenless Zone Zero, so we'll talk about that real quick. So. Zenless, I've gotten into it in the past like month or so, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's a 3-person squad instead of the 4-person squad in Genshin, but they still have sort of like an element system. It's not an element mix system per se this time. You just apply a certain amount of elemental damage, and then like you do big damage to the enemy. And then if you apply like 2 different elements, then they do a big damage thing, but it's not like the swirl elemental things or anything like the elemental reactions in Genshin. So there's not as much like I guess depth of the interactions of characters there, but they make up for that with the actual combat systems, because each player or each character has like a different play style. Like no two
different
characters have the same weapon, no 2 characters have the same move set, because they don't limit themselves to using like swords, pole arms, spell books, and everything else that Genshin had. Instead, they just have what's called a Winjin that you equip to a character for their weapon, and then each character just comes pre-built with like their own unique fighting style. So it's a lot more of like an action focus in this game. So you just kind of find a character that you enjoy the play style of. Find a group of characters, obviously, because you have to have a team of characters, but you swap between them. It's very flashy, very dynamic. They definitely encourage it in like the gameplay. The swapping of characters. They have like moments where like the game will like pause for you to switch to a character to do a quick attack with that character. You like cycle through characters when you stun an enemy, so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and
very flashy. I love the style.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of very stylish game. I'd say it's probably their most like stylized game that they've released. And the cast is interesting. I think I like the cast of Genshin a bit better personally, but they at least have like an extremely what's the word? They have like something for everyone in this game, not just like your typical anime like characters. 'Cause they have like a couple of like anthropomorphic designs. They've got like one or two robotic designs. So I mean, it's they're constantly adding more to it. But I think with this game, they've really like tried to be creative with it, get away from like fantasy, and they're like completely out of like the fantasy stuff, and they're trying to do like more of like a punk style.
Yeah, totally.
And it's working. I think it's really interesting what they're trying to do with it. They're not locking themselves into those fantasy trappings. They can really like be creative with some of the designs, and so they still have like your typical anime fare if that's what you're there for, but they have some interesting stuff too. It's been a lot of fun. I'm about halfway through the story, maybe a little bit further than that, like the main story, but obviously like there's a ton of grind after the main story. The events in it, just like in Genshin, the events are always like really interesting and have different gameplay. They've got like a whole like arcade mode besides that with different mini games, including like a full Vampire Survivors clone that's pretty fun.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
It's multiplayer too. The Vampire Survivors clone and all their like mini games in there are multiplayer.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. The actual like gameplay of it sadly isn't multiplayer like in Genshin. That was like one of the most interesting parts of Genshin was the multiplayer, but it's even just like as like a mostly single player experience, it's been a ton of fun. And it's got a nice fishing minigame as well. I've been trying to complete the fishing sort of encyclopedia in it, so I've been having a lot of fun with it.
I love that stuff in games, like when you can fill out like a whole, decks of fish or something. Yep. Love that stuff. That's one of my favorite things to do. Have you played Honkai Star Rail or not really?
No, I've never played that one. Nope.
Okay, interesting.
I'm not an RPG
would you ever check it out?
No, okay, I'm not an RPG guy, so I try to stay away from them unless if I like the story of them. But usually I'm not a big fan of the mechanics of RPGs. So
we're like so opposite on that. That's like my bag. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Zenless 1-0. I have played a little bit of it. I would love to come back to it because it doesn't seem as dense as like a Genshin Impact would. But
you log in for like 5 minutes and your dailies are done. Like it only takes like 5 minutes to do your dailies, maybe 10 minutes max.
Yeah, I mean, I know these games are for me. I don't want to lose my opportunity to play the other stuff that I really want to get to. That's really the only thing keeping me from it. It's because service games, like I have an addictive personality. Like if I like something, I like something, like really like something, and I just go hard. Yeah. So, I will check. I will check more of that out at some point. I think because it is a cool looking game, for sure. TMNT GBA.
Oh,
what brought you to this? Talk to me about this.
So it's not TMNT. That's a different game. TMNT is the one that's based off of the TMNT movie. That's also a really good game that I own on GBA.
Okay.
The one that I put for the notes, though, was one that I had as a kid. Well, I also had the other one as a kid, but I had this one as a kid, and I lost it when I was on like a family road trip. But I saw it at GameStop the other day, because my local GameStop has started doing retro sales now.
Yeah,
and so I picked
super
up
cool.
a few things from them just to support them, be like, yes, do this, because I want to see more retro. And
Yeah, approved.
I talked to like the store manager there. I'm like, hey, this is great that your store is doing this. Keep this up. Like, you gotta, when you see someone doing something like that for games preservation, you gotta like say like, yeah, go to your higher ups, tell them that this is the thing that we want to do, because selling retro is great for games preservation, because otherwise they're just gonna sit in those like GameStop warehouses and never be sold. So
that's the thing. Like, it's the digital age of gaming has come in a way where people are just buying things on their console / PC of choice. Like, the physicality of games is going away in a major way when it comes to what you own. Like, going back to that stuff, and you can emulate some of that stuff for sure, but if you have the hardware, why not just get a disc for it? Because it works immediately. You don't have to do anything else. So it's nice to have that like stuff that's not as ephemeral that you can take with you, like picking up like going through an old retro crate and coming back with a haul. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, but
yeah, for sure. I like that they're doing that.
It was but yeah, the game itself. I mean, I booted it up just to play it, make sure it was a working copy. Works great. I played through like the first couple of missions, and it was about as enjoyable as I remember it being. It's not quite as fully featured as that TMNT game, because that was a later game, but they're all Konami beat 'em ups. So, and they're just very stylized games. Very they play very well for like side-scrolling beat 'em ups. Side-scrolling beat 'em ups are like fine to me. I'm not like a biggest fan of them, but I don't despise them or anything.
There's a lot of really good ones on GBA, especially.
Oh yeah, and this one, it just feels like a good Konami offering. It's made more for replayability than content, so there's not a whole lot of like content in the game. It's more so like built for like challenging, tougher difficulties, score attack. And like even if you are like in the main menu or like the title screen and you do the Konami code, then you unlock very hard modes. So
cool.
They have a lot of fun with it. So
like the turtle thing too. You can put the Konami code in there too for the Super Nintendo version or the arcade version. Yeah, that's the thing. It's interesting. Like, so I will say this: like Shredder's Revenge, the newest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game that came out, that's a side-scrolling platformer sort of thing. It's a beat 'em up, not a platformer. Great game, one of my favorite beat 'em ups ever. Probably my favorite for sure. I played it like 20 times through, and like you said about those, it's just not the most content-rich thing in the world.
Okay.
But the replayability is huge because like you have a bunch of characters, right?
Yep.
You have all the turtles. You got the reporter. I can't blanking on her name.
April O'Neil.
April, yes, April O'Neil. I don't know why I was blinking.
I was a huge Ninja Turtles fanboy as a kid.
Oh, me too.
Loved
Yeah.
that 4Kids adaptation, especially.
Yes.
When I think of the Turtles, I don't think of that, the goofy cartoon one. Like, yeah, that one's fine, but I love the 4Kids adaptation. I adore
it's that reboot, man. Like it's the 2002.
It tries to be gritty, but it does it in like a goofy kids way still. Like it's good.
It's like that
so
perfect.
Good.
It's that perfect medium. Like people are like, oh, it's being too edgy, and it slowly gets less edgy.
Yeah.
And when they do like the future stuff, it gets less.
The future stuff was so much fun. Yeah, I love that.
It's fun though, but it's fun. And it doesn't quite lose that edge.
Yeah.
Like I hear the newer Nickelodeon show, like the 3D animated one, is great on a story, but like it kind of looks bad, I think that, like you said, that reboot is like perfect. That's the one I grew up with too, and that's
I did
that's
like
probably
that
why,
that 3D TMNT movie that they did after
the movie is good.
Reboot of the 4Kids reboot. They did that TMNT movie, and was good. That game by Konami is also really good on GBA.
Okay.
That's another like really good beat 'em up. That one has a bit more replayability because it also has like some RPG elements to where you can do like different builds for your turtles, like specialize in different stats, and there's
Sure.
like mini games, and it's a pretty content rich thing with only like 10 like full levels to go through, but they've got so much side content stuffed in there combined with like attacking the harder difficulties. I had a lot of fun with that game.
Yeah, I would say for like an IP, like a famous kids IP, I think TMNT might have the best stable of games.
Yeah.
In like a franchise, like it's hard to quantify this, right? But I think you get what I mean. Like there's a lot of good TMNT games.
Yeah,
really
I can't think of a bad one
there
off the top of my head.
There was an XBLA TMNT that wasn't very good, and I think it was it a remake of Turtles in Time? I can't remember. There was a bad one that I can remember. It's just I can't remember the name of it. The Platinum Games one was good. I heard that one was good. The like Shredder's Revenge is great. They put out those remasters or up-reses of the old Konami games too. Just they have like this really good stable of solid Ninja Turtle stuff, and I like how they reinvent them for different generations. The Turtles, like we had our generation, which was the 2003 reboot, which was amazing. yes, the 4Kids version's great. And then you had the Nickelodeon version when they bought Nickelodeon owns the Turtles now. So they bought it, spun it into a 3D show, very like Star Wars Rebels kind of. That's a good show, even though it doesn't look amazing. Then they have kind of a newer gen version with like Rise of the Ninja Turtles, which is more anime focused, and it's really cool looking. But the Turtles are really different. Like they really changed their personalities in that. And then they had the new stuff, like the most recent stuff, when they're like really teenagers, and that's what that last animated movie was about. I forget what the actual name of that one is. But it has like Seth Rogen and all them in that. It's super good though. That one, and they have a TV show based on that. So, yeah, it's a really good
with it
movie.
Since like the 4Kids days. So,
yeah, I recommend it. That last TMNT movie I saw in theaters was really good. They feel like they nailed the Ninja Turtles, and they kind of brought them back to being like kids.
Yeah.
It's very Spider-Verse focused, like animation.
Yep.
It's very snappy. I got to show you it. It's really good.
I love that second Spider-Verse movie. I never got around to watching the first one, but
right, we might have to have a sit down and do that. That'd be fun. But yeah, it's man, what is the name of that new one? It's just gonna drive me crazy. How could we possibly find out? But they have
what does Google exist for?
Right. But they keep pumping out TMNT games at a steady clip. Like they came out with a new TMNT game based on this version of the Turtles, the most recent, and it's kind of like a PS2 hack and slash game, kind of, and it's apparently pretty good.
Mutant Mayhem?
It's
is that the
Mutant Mayhem? Yes, yes, that's
go.
a good movie. It's a very good movie. I don't know if there's going to be a sequel
Paul
to
Rudd.
it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Paul Rudd. Yeah,
Paul
Rudd. He's very funny in that movie. He's like one of the mutants. I forget what his name is. Gecko, something like that. Yeah, my memory is just so bad these days. I suck.
Yeah, they got a lot of big names in here.
Yeah,
like
it's an
Mario
awesome movie. Ice Cube's the bad guy.
Yeah.
He plays Superfly.
That's fun.
Yeah, great movie. You should. I recommend that movie. But yeah, TMNT, all their games are great. And ever since Nickelodeon's bought them, they kind of their quality's still pretty high. Shredder's Revenge is my favorite beat 'em up ever. I beat that game so many times. But yeah, I saw TMNT GBA is like, yeah, I've been in my GBA bag lately. Honestly, like I'm kind of with you.
Yeah.
I guess anything else to talk about that TMNT piece that you're talking about?
No, but I did just see that they added Xenoblade Chronicles X icons for Switch Online. That's interesting.
Ooh, I need to redeem those. That game comes out this month, I think, and I have it pre-ordered, so I'm excited to play that.
I might check it out. I think that'd probably be a good entry point for me to the series.
I think so. It's less story focused. It's got cool mechs. The combat's
cool
really good. Yeah.
I like
they
sci-fi
call them
better than fantasy.
No, yeah, I think I'm different. I think I like fantasy more than sci-fi, but
Mm-hmm.
I like Xenoblade a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They called their exoskeletons skells. It's so cool.
Skills, that's really cool. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's sick. It's sick. I'm
Yeah.
excited about it.
I don't know if it
I
beats
wish.
Code Geass with the nightmares. They spell it like
No, 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 no,
the
no. Can't.
KNIHT
Right.
nightmares. That's like pretty cool.
People. Okay, so people think that's the best mecha anime ever, and I think I'm probably with them. I'm
Yeah,
probably
it
with them.
is. It is.
I
It's
mean,
so it's not just mecha either. Like it's so over the
right.
top because it's got the mecha stuff, but then it's got um like the drama stuff. It's got like the
Yes.
mystery stuff. It's got like the it's got so many genres. The shonen stuff. It's got so
Yeah.
many genres just layered into it, and like Sunrise somehow made them all work in tandem
Yeah.
without like invoking any of the Gundam IP. It moves entirely away from the Gundam IP, completely self-contained mecha by Sunrise. And so it's like
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
If you have not seen Code Geass,
Oh my
change your
gosh.
life.
Oh my gosh,
Change
it's
your life.
amazing stuff. I love
Yeah.
it. Easily one of my top anime. Easily. One of
Oh
my top
yeah,
three.
me too. It's definitely top 10. Definitely top 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, staying on the GBA tip, I've been
Yeah.
playing a lot of emulation stuff. A lot. Um, I guess yeah, I'll kind of segue into it. I bought the 8-bit Do Ultimate PC/Switch controller. You
Yeah.
mentioned you had it.
I've got two 8-bit
Yeah,
dos right here, right now.
For the viewing audience. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
showing off
yeah.
his two. Yeah, I got just the regular black version.
Yeah,
Love it.
I've got
it's
one of
so
those
good.
for Switch. I got the one with like
Yep.
the Switch controller layout for my Switch. It's all black. So
Yeah, perfect. It's a great little thing. I mean, it feels really comfortable in the hand. It's not too heavy, not too light. It feels right. I like it, and it feels very similar to an Xbox 360 remote. It's just not as rounded. I like the grips of it. I like the back paddles that you have that you can kind of add to different functionality for whatever game you're running. Yeah, it's just really it's really solid, and I've been playing a lot of emulation stuff with it. Yeah, just kind of off the top, I've been playing. I've been on a Persona kick lately, so I've been playing Persona 1, Revelations Persona, not the remake, but like the remaster for PSP, just called Persona, and yeah, it's been great with that. It's been really good, and it's a pretty it's a pretty like hallway focused dungeon crawler sort of thing, and yeah, it's really nice to use it with the 8-bit Do. I really enjoy it. I've been playing that, the original Silent Hill. I've been playing. It's nice to be able to remap and then kind of like try out different configurations with the setup, because you do have the options to use the back pedals for like a menu or something. Yeah, it's been just great, just kind of farting around with my different emulation stations.
What does the cast look like on that PSP version of Persona 1?
Oh yeah, they changed. Okay, so the cast is different. They changed it back to the original.
Okay.
For Persona 1 because they changed Mark. For the PS1 version.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, awkward sort of change that they did for PS1. So I'm glad that they just went ahead and were like, no, let's just bury that change, that awkward change that we did, and go back to the original.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's it's there are some changes for sure, but it's in keeping with the original Persona
Japanese
flavoring. The original Japanese release of that game, of Revelations Persona, they brought back the original character model, or whatever you want to say. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but, it's an awkward thing that they did for sure. When they localized it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying using the remote. I just think it's really satisfying. I played Dirge of Cerberus with it, which is not a good game, but playing with that remote, it almost feels like a good one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I really like it. Kind of using the remote. I've been playing a lot of Persona 1 for sure. And like you mentioned, like there are differences between 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5,
Oh yeah.
sort of thing. Like 1 and 2 are like grid based dungeon crawlers, really, and they feel
Yeah.
like Etrian Odyssey, where it's like you're literally going down
Well,
a hallway, bumping into walls. You
I
know.
think 2 is kind of like isometric, right? Like they
Well, the
did like
first
an
one is 2.
isometric. Oh, okay.
Right, but like dungeon crawler in the way where you're navigating these hallways.
I knew one
Um,
was like that. I guess I didn't get to far enough into 2
Yeah.
to find out that 2
Mhm.
was like that.
I don't
So.
know about 2. 1 is
Oh,
definitely
okay.
like that, where
Okay.
you're literally going
Yep.
through like the first
Well-
dungeon I played. I put a couple hours into the first one. The
Yeah.
one I played, you're going through a hospital. It's basically a dungeon. It's first person.
Yes.
It really is.
Well, that's what the
Um,
original like SMT games were like as well, right?
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Those were
Totally.
like the first person dungeon crawling. So
Mhm.
those are like based off like a book series,
Yeah,
right? Like
it's
a
a book
Japanese
series.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
It's called Shin Megami Tensei. I forget what it means though. It has something to do with like a goddess.
Shin Megami is like demon, I thought.
Yeah. I forget. There's like a specific
Pull
name
up a
for the books.
translation.
But yeah, it is a book series. I don't think the license was too expensive back in the 80s or whatever it is.
Right.
So they were able to kind of expound upon that, and now it's like a phenomenon with Persona, right? But yeah, it's interesting to see how crude the first 2 games are, or the first initial releases. The first one is Revelations Persona for the PS1. They remade it for the PSP and restored some of the old content, and then they have Eternal. What's it called? Eternal something or other, and then Innocent Sin for Persona 2. There's the original installment, and then the sequel to itself with the Persona 2 series. And I hear Persona 2 and its follow-up are better games, and even some people are like, if you haven't played a Persona game until you've beaten the story of these ones.
Really?
Which,
Okay, yeah.
whatever. That's what I hear. I don't know.
I like the music in 2. It has some pretty nice soundtracks.
The music in the music in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all great, but 1 and 2 especially have really good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool to go back, and it's interesting to see what works and what doesn't. I do think it's isometric. Both of them are. Both styles of 1 and 2 are, but the battles are too frequent, and that's the problem. And there's the enemies aren't that hard, so you kind of just, for the PSP version, you're just auto battling a lot. Like you can battle, but it's just not as fast. So it's better to just auto battle with the isometric setup, and you can change your format for your party. Basically, you can have like up to 6 or 7 party members. Like it feels like a tactical tile-based game. It's really interesting. For Persona 1 at least, that's the only one I can speak to. But yeah, basically the setting is just like the other Persona games. It takes place with high schoolers in high school, attending classes and stuff. It doesn't have these social constructs or the social links, I don't think, that I've seen.
The dating sim stuff came in with 3. I'm pretty sure that's when they shifted focus.
Yeah, and like the framework is there, you can see it, but it's a linear story with an isometric combat system and dungeon crawler first person mechanics like the Shin Megami Tensei series was known for up until then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put about 2.5 hours into it last weekend. Yeah, or 2 weekends ago actually, and it's really good. I think it might be my favorite battle theme of any of the Personas. The first one, it's really interesting. They that's kind of a fun fact. I think was the director who also did the music of at least Persona 1, and I think he did some of the music for 3 and 4. He I think it's Shoji Meguro. That's his name. He made the Japanese singers speak English when they weren't, kind of used to speaking English. So it kind of comes off poorly translated and spoken, but it's kind of like a vibes thing, and he kind of wanted to keep that way. He's like, I don't want you to understand what they're saying. I want you to feel what they're saying. He's like, I'm just going to make some bops, and I love that about Persona 1. Really good music. It has, for the PSP version, there are some cutscenes, which is interesting. I think it's pretty much. I don't know if the PS1 version has these, but the PSP version has like these kind of new-ish cutscenes with like Philemon and all the like basically Philemon is like the Igor stand-in for the first two games, where he's or Philemon, they call him Philemon, sorry.
Yeah.
And he kind of he's kind of gestured at in 3, 4, and 5 with the butterfly. That's supposed to be Philemon. But he's like a person in the first three entries of Persona 1, 2, and 2B or whatever you want to call it. And it's they have like pretty nice CG cutscenes for the PSP version. Some voice acting too, and I think the main silent protagonist is the strongest of any of the Persona games up until 5. 4, I like 4 personally the most, and 3 has a lot of good individuality, but it's just that they're missing that personification with the speaking aspect, which they fix in Metaphor, where it's like he's enough of a cipher, but he still talks. He's still his own person, you know. 3 gets the closest of the newer style games to that, I think, from 3, 4, and 5. But I think number 1 has, I think his name is Tatsuya, the main protag of the first one. He's really strong. I really like his characterization from what you're kind of basically like your backstory is filled in by your party members, and they kind of respond to you, and you kind of glean information that way. And like it's not like he's a mute protagonist. They basically just say he's a private person, which I really like. And they're like, oh yeah, he doesn't talk much. He's a private person. He talks to us, but like, you know, he doesn't make a big show of things. That's why he's kind of the leader. I like that. The cast also seems really good so far too. So I will be playing more original Persona. But yeah, just dabbling in a bunch of other stuff with this controller. It's really nice to just play all the simulation stuff with something that I can kind of dedicate strictly to that. It's really responsive, the 8-bit controller for sure. But that's kind of like my emulation stuff is just playing Persona, primarily the original.
Yeah, Tatsuya was the protagonist of Persona 2. Persona 1 is Naoya.
Naoya, sorry. I meant,
Tatsuya was Persona 2. They actually, they talk about Tatsuya in Persona 3 if you do like the social link with the hermit.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of.
I was doing research for 1 and 2, and I mixed up the names. Apologies, but I like the characterization of the first character in Persona 1. So apologies for misspeaking there.
No, you're.
But
good.
Really, really good game. I think it's great. It hasn't aged as well, but I like having the history lesson. It's really interesting to do that.
Yeah.
Playing it with the guide is the way to go, though, or else you'll be lost.
Those old games. You gotta play them with the guide.
It's just not worth it to stumble around. You know, it's better to just go here, do this, do this, do this. Yeah. And with at least Persona 1, there are 2 different routes you need to play. One's called Snow Queen, and I forget what the other route is called, but like. They are different stories, so you're kind of playing the game twice to see everything.
Yeah, I think that was added into the PSP remaster.
Yes, right. It's a new route for returning players, and it's really cool. They're like different sides of the same coin, and they have different things that happen. So it kind of encourages you to play the game twice, which is really cool. I don't think it's the longest game in the world. Like each route probably takes about 20 hours each, 20 to 30 hours each. It's not the longest thing ever, but it's. Yeah, it does. It also depends on if you're playing with a guide or not. I think that's why there's the fluctuation in gameplay time for sure. But really, really, really enjoying Persona 1 specifically for the PSP version. I am playing on emulation. So, you mentioned playing Persona 2. Would you ever play the first one? Are you kind of interested in that at all, or not really?
I tried it on because I own the PlayStation Classic device that. They've released that first one on PlayStation Classic, and I tried to get into it. I didn't have a guide, so I had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of stumbling around.
Oh yeah, I bet that was
it's also that English localization where they do weird stuff with it, and so
I
was like, "This is really weird, guys. I don't know if I can agree with what you're trying to do with this localization." So I kind of fell off it, and I was like, but now that I know that there's like English, like official English, like remaster. I guess I didn't realize that remaster followed
Mm-hmm.
everything in the Japanese version closely.
It follows
So-
it, but they keep like the American names
Sure,
for like
that's fine.
shorthand. Like
Sure.
they say like the nick.
makes sense.
They'll give the full name,
Yeah.
but then like the American names will be the nickname, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that about it. So
Yeah,
they
I'd
keep the right
probably
things.
try that PSP version if I
Mm-hmm.
went back to it, because I mean I love Persona 3 portable, so I'm sure I'd be able to get into Persona 1 portable.
Yeah, and it's one of those PS1 games. I think you pretty much take to it.
Yeah.
It's archaic in some ways, but they give you the option to auto battle too if you want to just kind of blow through it.
Perfect.
I just want to see the story, and
Yeah.
they have the talking to demons function, which is really
Yep,
cool,
yep.
and you can like barter with them and stuff.
Yep.
Just the Shin Megami Tensei stuff.
Yep.
They kind of broke away from that in the Persona games with 3, 4, and 5.
Well,
especially
no,
especially
5
in
has it
5.
back.
No, five has it in a major way.
Yeah.
3 and 4 don't have a ton of it.
They don't have any
Um,
of it. You just like do like.
I don't think they do. They talk
cards.
to you. The demons talk to you, but you can't like barter with them or anything.
Not really. No.
5 you can. 5 you
Oh
definitely
yeah.
can.
Oh yeah. They brought
But
it
in
back
1
with
there's a
five.
lot of that too. Like 1 and 2 it's like you need to impress them. There's kind of like a grid gauge that like depending on how their disposition is, like if you each character has kind of like a skill tab where it's like, oh, jeer at them, taunt them, encourage them, flirt with them.
Yeah.
And then it fills up these different like kind of like XY grids of their temperament, which is really cool because you can get them to do different things, give you money, run away, join you, that sort of stuff. It's really interesting. It's always been interesting. It's an archaic way to kind of engage with those systems. I think if you're going to do that sort of style of game, I recommend like Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance has a lot of that stuff, and also Persona 5 brought that back in a major way.
Yeah.
The bartering stuff. But yeah, that's it's a lot of that emulation stuff for me.
While we're on the Persona topic, real quick.
Yeah, please.
Have you heard? Do you know the VTuber Mori Calliope? Have you heard that?
I do not. I've never heard of
Okay.
it. No.
It's a VTuber lady, whatever. She did a song with Lotus Juice and
Oh.
Shoji Meguro.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
basically just a Persona song, but like they made like
Cool.
a brand new song, and it's pretty good. I like it, so
Nice.
because I like
yeah,
Persona music, so
yeah, definitely send me a link. I'll look at that. That was
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I like. Yeah,
I'm not
it's
a
interesting. that-
VTuber person, but I had a buddy
Yeah,
of mine who is sending me this. He's like, "Yeah, this is
Yeah.
basically just like a Persona song." I'm like, "Yeah, good job, VTuber lady."
Yeah. Other than that, for emulation, I've been kind of just dabbling here and there, like I mentioned. I got Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition running well on my PC. That version is the superior version for that version of the game
Yeah,
of Silent Hill 2
Yep.
PS2.
That's what I've played.
It's the PC version. It
Yeah.
is, but they have enhanced textures, better controls. I think the frame rate's a lot better. I'm going back and playing the first one before I touch the original Silent Hill 2. I'm basically just going to play them in order because they're not the longest things in the world. I think the first Silent Hill's like, it can't be more than 15 hours. Like, it's not that long of a game. But it's really just wrestling with the controls for me for the first one. The second one, playing the enhanced version's like the way to go if you want to touch that. The first one, it's a really good update of a classic game, and it's going to be nice to kind of like at some point compare the two. Now that I finished the new version of Silent Hill 2, going back and playing this enhanced version where I can still get the gist of the old stuff, but not the cruft of it, So just kind of like dabbling in Silent Hill the series. I downloaded some games in the series like Silent Hill Origins, Shattered Memories, which is kind of a remake of the first one in some ways. It's just a fascinating series that kind of went downhill after a while, and it's kind of
Shattered
rising from the
Memories is on
ashes
the
again.
PSP, right?
Was it? They have a Wii version. I know that.
Do they
It
really?
might have been on the PSP. I'm pretty sure they do because, like, I want to say they had a function in the speaker that they incorporated into the gameplay. If not, I'm thinking about something else.
No.
It might be Origins
Yeah,
then.
yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, that.
Okay,
It was
I knew
on
one of them
both.
had like an interesting Wiimote function. I think it was Shattered Memories.
Wii, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation Portable. That's
It was
so
portable. Okay,
weird.
okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
I knew it was
but
on the
people
PSP
like that
because
one.
I played a little bit of it on the PSP.
Yeah, yeah. People like that one.
Yeah.
Shattered Memories. That's one of the last good
Yeah,
Silent Hill games.
it was a good PSP game. I mean, PSP,
Mhm.
what a fantastic console. I mean,
We'll
I'm a
have to
little
really
bit
talk about that at
biased.
some
That's
point.
where Project Diva started. So, but
Sure, sure. Yeah.
oh man, I love my PSP.
You know what we should do sometime, and I like doing the rankings. We should rank games from every system and make the PSP one of our first. We should do that.
Oh yeah, oh,
Definitely.
yeah.
Um,
I'm not a Sony fanboy. I know I've got like the PlayStation 1 stuff and whatever. I've always been more of
Yeah.
like a Nintendo guy, but I really love what
Oh, yeah.
Sony does, especially with like their older like systems, and the PSP just
Mhm.
feels to me like that perfect like niche between modern and retro to where it feels
Yeah.
good to play.
Yeah, for sure. And just I kind of wanted like a little check in. I mentioned the last podcast I was playing Returnal. I think I'm going to drop this game just like completely. I don't think I will ever come back to it. There is a major issue with that game, and it's just like the progression is wrong, and I think they're going to fix that in their sequel Saras, and they basically said that the game is waiting for you to quote get good at it, but it has nothing to spur you on and keep going. Like none of the roguelike elements are interesting. Like every death feels punishing, every run is too long. Returnal is a great idea with great mechanics, but like the actual progression and playing it is not satisfying at all. In fact, it's so punishing it puts you off entirely. I think I played enough of it to get more of an idea of it, and I really as a gamer, I try not to just quit games. I always want to be open to the idea of coming back to one. And maybe I'll come back to Returnal after Saras, I don't know. But for now, I'm just not going to play it again, I think. I got the gist of it. I beat like half the game. I beat like 3 or 4 bosses. I just it's not worth it to finish it. It's just not worth it. It's a well-made video game, and I think that's a lot of people's issue with it is it's so punishing. They don't trickle enough treats along the way to interest you to kind of pick at it. I just don't. I don't like what they did with progression in Returnal, so I'm dropping it, leaving it, that sort of thing. The big thing I want to talk about for my odds and ends. I beat Persona 3 Reload completely for the base game. I've done almost everything in that game, with the exception of the secret boss fight. After you finish all your requests with Elizabeth, there is a secret boss fight that is one of the hardest things I've ever seen in a game. Like straight up, I'm not even close to beating it. And I don't want to. If you played a Persona game, you kind of have an idea who the secret
So
boss is.
you're
It's
thinking
very
it's more
obvious.
different than you think it's more difficult than like the final boss of out of 4.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like okay. I'm gonna spoil Persona 3 Reload, so cover your ears if you don't listen. I'm gonna start with the boss fight here. You have to finish all the requests to even get a shot at it, right? That's including fusing on the personas. There's 10 stages of that. There's different requests throughout the game, different requirements of meeting, social links, that sort of thing. There's a lot of steps. There's 101 requests. I have done 100 of them. The last request is engaging the secret boss. The game on the whole is pretty easy. Tartarus is pretty easy, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But the final boss is you are required to finish every request and turn them into Elizabeth, the Velvet Room kind of keeper of the keys, sort of thing. She's basically Igor's right hand lady, pretty much. Like in every Persona game from 3 on, they have kind of a stand-in for the Velvet Room setting, basically, and Elizabeth is that for Persona 3. I really like her characterization. She's very springy, very bouncy, but very naive. I like her. She doesn't beat like the other I don't even know what you call them, like the Velvet Room people. the ladies or whatever you want to call them. She doesn't beat the ones in 4 or 5 for me. I love the twins. They're really fun. But the spoiler is she is the final boss of the request chain. She's a secret boss. She is so hard to even fight. You have to have like the best gear. You have to grind to get the best gear. This was how it was in Persona 3 Portable. You could make weapons with the antique shop, and they require different gems and equipment that you get from different parts of venturing through Tartarus, basically. And you have to have like the best stuff in the game to even attempt it. She straight up nullifies all damage except for one specific type of damage, which is Almighty.
Yeah.
And you have to have certain skills on your persona with you to even endure her attacks going forward. It is so tough. You have to hit a damage threshold just to move past her steps. She's like a 3-phase boss. If you don't clear like that damage threshold every time, she just wipes you with an insta-kill move. Every time. It's very frustrating. It's very tough. I don't know if I'll do it. It's not required to platinum the game, which is I'm kind of doing. The trophy list itself is very easy. All I have left to do is the social links. It annoyed me in Metaphor. I didn't get it done there, and I didn't get it done here in Persona 3 because there's a lot to do. I'd maxed out all the things you could do for your stats.
Yeah.
I met every social link. Yeah. The only ones I didn't finish were the girls. All your I didn't finish Yukari's. I will get into this. I didn't finish Yukari's and it pissed me off, I'll tell you. I had a couple classmates here and there. I did like 80% of the social links and really enjoyed a lot of them. There's a couple duds in there, like your soccer teammate story sucks, and there's a couple early ones that suck. Like your what's this, Tomochika, your the first social link you get is he has like it's so gross. It's like a relationship with a teacher, and it's just
no, that's not what happens. He doesn't.
Okay, it's not what happens. It's not what happens, but he thinks it happens that way. Like
that's just
it's a misunderstanding.
I mean, that's
sort of thing.
That's a high school boy thing, right?
It's a high school boy thing, but it's just it's a Persona thing too, and I just rolled my eyes every time I had to engage with it. It's just a me thing.
It's awkward for sure, but it's
awkward. Yeah,
it's a realistic thing, I think. Like, to be honest,
yeah,
even if it is awkward.
My mileage with the whole teacher-student thing that the Persona games do is very slim. Like I
would say that 5 approaches that topic way worse than 3.
They do. They let you date your
3
teacher,
is 3 is like, oh no, that actually doesn't happen, by the way, because that actually be weird. 5 is like,
go ahead,
go date these adult ladies, high school boy. Yeah. Go do it. That's a good thing. Yeah. They present you several adult ladies, and they're like, yeah, you as a high school boy can go date these adult ladies. No issue.
Yeah.
It's like, issue.
Huge issue. And I understand Persona 3 hand waves it and goes like, this isn't gonna happen. But the fact that it's even in there is just kind of, I don't like it. I think it sucks. I think it's cheap because they know it's forbidden. It's just, it feels like they're treading on taboo territory that they really delve into with 5. The entire line of questioning, I'm not interested in it. So why even do it? And also Kenji sucks. He's not an interesting person.
Yeah.
But for the main cast, Yukari is really strong with her social link with her mom. It's really, really, it's good to invest in. I like the Aigis stuff, kind of trying to come to grips with her as a person, going am I a machine? And am I just this body? I love that stuff.
I
didn't get to finish that too.
Aigis is best girl, best Persona character. Aigis, I adore.
Aigis is great. Yeah. She really she starts as an unfeeling machine with no emotion. She literally cries by the end of Persona 3, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful scene.
Oh yeah.
Especially in Reload, they really do a great job with the actual ending.
I need to get through Reload so I can
see I agree.
Visuals. I'm sure
it looks really nice. Yeah. But the one social link that floored me was Mitsuru's, dude. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so to start off, um, there's the dating sim aspect of it, right?
It's
You
not
can date
really
up everything.
it's not really very heavy in 3, to be honest. Like,
It's not. It really isn't. It's very like pretty. It's pretty.
It's kind
light.
of subtle, and like you technically, at least in like the base game, I remember like you technically date them all, but you don't.
You do.
Date them all. It's very.
You do.
There's no like line drawn there, and like
Yeah.
it's kind of weird.
It depends on how
but-
far you lean into it. It depends on
Yeah.
like if you want it, if you don't want it.
Yeah.
Like you're still doing the events,
Uh-huh.
but it's like kind of like flavor text in between. Like you're still cooking with Fuka, you're still hanging out with Yukari and going on like dinner dates and stuff. And Mitsuru is the most interesting one because like she's like this head of a company after like spoilers, her dad gets killed through the events of the story. And like I said, I'm spoiling Persona 3, so if you want to skip, please skip. She's like got an arranged marriage with like this corporate figure, and I think it's the 8th or 9th part of the social link. She like, depending on how far you push into the relationship or not, you can date everybody with no consequence as long as you max them out each time. Because basically, like, I think they'll remark and kind of kick back, or like stop progression if you start dating kind of inter-social link.
Yes, they'll
it's
do that.
Yes. They've altered that in Reload. It's not as hard. It doesn't reverse like it does in the original. Like there's also a social link with Suemitsu where they kind of hint at that, where he gets mad at you, it reverses for a second, and then it comes back. But it's not permanent, and none of them are permanent in Reload. And Persona 3, they can straight up reverse or even just cease. It's not like that here. They've changed it where they're like, yeah, people wouldn't like that. But Mitsuru, to continue, she basically like tells this guy to F off, and she's like, I love this guy, your character, and you're like, I'm going to marry him instead. And like having her profess that to you in front of somebody else, like changed my view on her as a character. Yeah. She's very reserved. She's very serious. She kind of sucks at the beginning because she's very like, oh, we have to go train, and why aren't you studying, and all this crap. And I'm just like, you know what? Just shut up. Like let me do my dailies. Let me just talk to my people. I don't need you to lecture me about an exam. I'm gonna max out on everything. So having her like facade be ripped away at the last second in her social link is great because like she puts on this gruff exterior because she kind of has to, and then as soon as like she's pressed on her emotions, she kind of like boils over and she starts gushing. It's kind of amazing. It flipped me on the entire character.
Yeah.
She also became a main party member for me because her ultimate ability is broken, frankly, where she has an almighty attack that is devastating, especially in the end game. But yeah, she's the one I like really flipped on the most. My favorite social link, I think, was the Dying Man. The comic-y one was really good. Yeah. It's so heartbreaking, especially on the wrap-up when you talk to his mother, and you have like the story that he wrote and stuff. Genuinely affecting. But
3 is a hard game to play through. Like it gets you.
It is.
It is a deep story. I don't want to call it a depressing story. I don't think so, yeah. It's a story that talks about impermanence of things, and it deals a lot with the impermanence of things, and
I like
the humanity of things, and like living every day to its fullest. That's what 3 is all about. I love games, so
my favorite line in that game, and I don't know, it's not word for word, I don't think, but life is so beautiful because death comes for everybody, or something like that. They say something to that effect, and that really hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, woof. Like, we are impermanent as people, but like life is so beautiful because it is finite, you know. That is what the game is trading on, is that fact. Like, they are literally trying to stop the world from ending, of course, because in JRPGs you got to fight God. But they literally have to deal with the cycle of death throughout the game. With different characters, with the boss fights, with the world state. It's all about that.
I don't think there's a single main character that like doesn't deal with grief of some variety. Whether even if it's just like not necessarily like grief of like death of someone, but just like grief in like their everyday life or grief
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
like things that happen to them. But a lot of characters do deal with like loved ones or
Yeah.
people
Oh yeah. The
in
one that
their.
really snuck up on me was Amada. I mean, just
Mhm.
like because he's kind of like a mid game ad for the party, and it's
Mhm.
kind of like he kind of just shows up, and they're like, "There's this kid now. He's got potential. He's already awakened." That's kind of the case with every one of the Persona
Mhm.
users. They're like, they're awakened. We're joining. We're gonna go to Seas. And everyone's gonna join up and go to Tartarus. And Amada's like the same. They're like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna live in the dorm. He's kind of an elementary school kid, so he won't go to school with you, but he's awakened. He's important." And there's like a quiet sadness to Ken Amada, that you don't see until he kind of interacts with Shinjiro, the last party member, and it is genuinely soul crushing to see
Yeah.
what happens. Like you don't realize how tied they are to each other in their grief. Like literally, Shinjiro is the reason Amada's mother dies, and then Shinjiro gives his life for Amada ultimately, so it kind of resolves that and adds another way of guilt to Amada, and then how he treats with that on top. Dude, it's
That
just
kid
layers
deals
and
with
layers.
so much. That poor
It
kid.
really does,
On
and
top
that
of that,
stuck
he
up
has
on
to
me
get
too.
groomed in the Persona 3 portable, so.
Yeah, yeah, it's the one party member that kind of gets off the easiest is the dog because he can't speak like that. But
Yeah.
even he has an emotional arc, right?
Yeah.
I do think like the story is the best they've ever done. I don't think 4 or 5, from what I've seen for 5, I've beaten 4 on a Vita. 5 doesn't hit those highs, and I don't think the cast is as well rounded.
Yeah.
There's also more party members in 3 than I think any of 4 and 5. I'm pretty
Maybe,
sure.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the most robust party. So there's a lot of social dynamics in there, and like you're always dealing with something happening in the story. Like it's the main issue I have with Persona 3, and I told you this, the pacing to start is horrible. I don't
Yes.
think it's good.
Yes.
It's 20 to 25 hours before anything happens. April is a wasted month, as so is May.
Yes.
Like until you get to
There's too many
June,
tutorials
nothing
in it.
happens.
Like they like have they give you too much time to do things essentially.
Way too much
in
time.
that early
Like
game before stuff actually starts happening.
yeah, and I remember this, and I'm playing through it again because I'm trying to do the social link stuff for the platinum. I'm going through April, and you're literally showing up to talk to somebody and going to bed.
Yep.
Like it sucks. I don't know why they decided to do that. That's one thing they could have changed, I think, and added some social links earlier. But I digress. It's not a huge issue. It was for me initially, but I'm glad I pushed through it ultimately because the story is so good. That's my main issue with the game. But once you hit June, it's like the game pops off in a major way, and the story just gets better and better and better until the very end, when it just you think you win and then you lose ultimately.
Yeah.
And it's not an issue for me either, but I find it interesting that like the death of the main character takes so long. Like he gives his entire self, and then he doesn't die for another 2 months. And he kind of just slowly dies. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I guess we're getting to spoiler territory. So whatever.
I said I was spoiling it.
It's part of it is because of his will to fulfill that final. Hey, we're gonna meet up at so and so time.
Yeah.
And so that's like his will carrying on. Like that's the one thing he gets to do.
Yeah.
After his sacrifice. So.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Like, you see him give himself, and then you see how he kind of drags on after that. It's like his battery slowly runs out at the end.
And then that scene with just him and Aigis, and like it's only him and Aigis that
on the
Aigis
rooftop,
is the only one that remembers him, and oh man.
Well, so
most
they
beautiful scenes in gaming.
Right. So basically, like once everything like ends, everyone forgets basically what happens except for Aigis because she's an inorganic construct, right? So she remembers everything. They start to remember each other, but they don't remember what happened. And they basically find you too late, And the Answer DLC, the expansion stuff, deals with Aegis and the fallout from that and how she kind of feels. It's
Yeah.
kind of perfunctory content in terms of like a gameplay basis, but like the story itself, from what I've seen, is very Aegis focused, and it's the FES content from the original that they repackaged for $35, which is pretty ridiculous. They should have just added that in the game.
They ripped a lot of people off with that.
They did, and it
DLC
sucks.
service.
But I got it at a discount. So
I
I'm
got
not
it
complaining
on
about it
a
too much,
sale
but-
as well. I told myself I wouldn't
Yeah.
buy it until it was like on a steep discount, and that's what I did. So
Xbox was giving it away for free on Game Pass actually too, which is cool. But yeah, like spoilers aside, I think the story just the beginning is a really slow start. It's one of the
Yeah.
slower starts I've played in the game,
Yeah.
but
And the
if you
like,
stick through
typical,
it,
like,
it really
magician social link is kind of awkward too. But
it is. Yeah, the magician one's not great. But like on the whole, I think the game structurally is a lot smaller than 4 and 5, and I like the intimacy of it. But it feels like a 30-hour game in a 60-hour game, and they really could have cut it down. But that's also Persona 3 original.
Yeah.
That's Persona 3 original. The thing that bugs me the most about Persona, structurally compared to like a Metaphor, is that it drives me up a wall. And this is what I want to talk about the Yukari thing. The social link, furthering the social links is so frustrating because on the days they show up, because there's special days where like a character won't show up. Like for instance, Kamiki only shows up on Sundays.
Yeah.
And Maiko can only show up a couple days too. Like they just, whenever you have a day and you're like, I need to spend this day with you, they're like, I don't think you can further this without more investment. Like empty days just hanging out. And I just think that sucks. And Metaphor changes that, where they shorten the social link to 8 pips, basically, and everyone you're going to get a degree further until you reach the full max.
Yeah.
In Persona, it's like the calendar's so padded out that, you know, if you can't further a social link, it just goes like, I don't know, spend time with them, you'll get closer. That sucks. It's just, it's not, it's especially when you have other stuff you could be doing. You're like, I'm on rank 9 of this, why can't I just further it? And that's what happened with Yukari for me. I was in the last month, I was in January, it was the 28th. I had just finished her thing, her rank 8, basically, and I finished her rank 9. I'm like, okay, I'm almost there. I was on my rank 9, almost about to max, and I had been specking using the like dating site things to kind of at night put you know towards her social link, going like, hey, I'm going to invest these while I can't talk to her, sort of thing, so I'm not wasting days. It literally is like capped at like 6 or 8 of those tokens that you're putting in, whatever. It's like an arbitrary amount, and Mutatsu was like this as well, where you're just dumping all this currency and this social currency, if you will, into the social link, and she still didn't unlock. And then the game ends, you know. And it's kind of on me for not finishing it a little bit. But there is so many social links, and there's so much to do with maxing out your character and all this other stuff in Tartarus. It's hard to balance all the scales, and I kind of let it go by the wayside for too long. And you really should play January for Aegis, and I didn't finish Aegis either, you know. So I'm having to go back and do all these social links again for the trophy, which is kind of annoying. But basically, like, you're putting empty points into this social stat to just max it up. I just think it blows, and Metaphor does it so much better, you know, in hindsight. But in wrapping it up, I've talked about it at length. Persona 3 Reload is great. It is, you know, they improve every entry. I think it's the best version of Persona 3. I don't think you need to play original Persona 3 ever again. I just don't think you do. This is like the version, I think, for me. And I played about halfway through Persona 3 Portable. I like the cast in the original better than this one. And they're going to do the same thing for Persona 4, and it's going to piss me off, I think, where they're going to recast everybody. But I think the game itself is better in Persona 3 Reload. It's I like the version, the style of gameplay they went with.
Yeah, the stylization and, you know, the new music choices are pretty good in Reload. I think you know, a lot of people want that female protagonist in Portable, who also comes with a new set of social links, like changes out some of the social links. But like there's also some weird stuff with that, like I was talking about earlier, like you can actually like date Ken Amada as the female protagonist.
I don't like that. That's a child.
It's really awkward.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't add that in the new one. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's tough. That's tough. There's a lot of changes they made that are for the better, and that's one of them. It sounds like so.
yeah. I think there was
I-
a
I-
way to keep the one guy alive as well in the female protagonist's story specifically.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shinjiro.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm thinking so. I think you could actually
That's
date
pretty
him
cool.
and stuff in that one. if I
Oh,
remember right.
interesting.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I think the game is really easy when it comes to Tartarus. It's very easy to blow through.
Yeah.
I don't like the way it's designed. Like the procedural nature of it is what it is. There's a lot of floors. There's 263, and they're story gated, so you can only reach a certain amount every run or whatever. But you spend 1 or 2 days out of a month running through Tartarus, and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game is not hard at all. It's one of the easier Personas, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's a great game.
Yeah.
It's a huge time investment, but
Yeah, it's got a lot of interesting, I think pretty realistic social links.
yeah,
They're not necessarily flashy like other games, but they're just
yeah, they're not.
people just living their lives, and sometimes that's interesting, sometimes that's dumb, like Kenji. Sometimes it's interesting,
Yeah.
like the old folks that you meet.
Yeah. Yeah, Bunkichi and his wife. Yeah,
I think they're the Hierophant, right? And then
I think so. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
And then there's
Yeah, I think so.
the Hermit one's kind of funny because it's just you're in an MMO sort of thing, and
Yeah,
then it,
yeah, the Maya stuff.
yeah, yep. You
And
you
also,
found the twist
she turns
for
out
that
to be
one,
your
right?
teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't make it weird or creepy is the thing. The teacher's just oh, that's
yeah.
really weird that you're the person on there. I don't like that.
She straight up has a conniption in
Yeah.
Reload.
Yeah.
She freaks out. She's
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, why did this have to
what
be
the
the case?"
heck? And that's a normal reaction.
That is,
That's a
yeah.
normal reaction for a teacher to find that.
I'm glad they changed that from what it probably would have been in a Persona 5.
Yeah, in
where they were
5
just
it would have been
we're-
we're dating. It's no.
Your teacher is also a sexy maid? What? You should probably phone her up and say, come clean my potted plants. Yeah.
Not the potted plants. No, but the
Potted pants, yeah.
the Hermit one's interesting, and the one you were talking about earlier, Maiko actually has an interesting one because she doesn't deal with grief per se. She's dealing more with her parents' divorce, so that's
separation.
kind of interesting. Yeah, everything in the game has to deal with some sort of loss aspect,
Yeah.
impermanence aspect, and that's the impermanence of relationships with people.
Yeah,
is, what that
totally.
one deals
Because
with,
by the
so-
end of your social links, besides the people closest to you, a lot of people leave, either
Yeah.
die or leave the town.
Yeah.
Like Maiko moves away. It's like you said, it's impermanence. It's really
Yeah, that's the
you
whole
make a
theme of
friend
the
and then they
game.
just Mutatsu moves on as well. He stops being a drunkard and he goes and reunites with his wife and kid
Yeah.
and. Yeah, I love
It's
that about
really-
it. It feels the most dynamic of all their games. When it comes to a, personality thing for your social links, everyone feels like a person.
It
Except for
feels
Kenji.
like they're trying to do the thing where they're we want this to be our magnum opus, our final
Yeah.
entry in the series, and that didn't really work out. But
Well, it's interesting because all the other games are kind of based off of what happens in Persona 3 technically
Uh-huh.
when it comes to the persona aspect of it.
Yeah.
Without the entire Nyx thing, the other Persona games don't happen
Yeah.
technically
Yep.
because they all take place in the same world, technically
Yep.
the real world. With the advent of the Nyx stuff, everything else happens in 4 and 5, right? The allowance of the Dark Hour basically begets the Midnight Channel stuff in 4, and then 5 with the phone app, and they all have different ties in there. And I'm interested to see how they explain it in 6 too, this through line, how that carries on. But yeah, definitely talked about it at length. But Persona 3 is awesome. It's a really good game. I'm glad I pushed through. I'd like to see what you think of Reload and the things that it's changed, because you can speak to both sides too.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, I know you won't get to it for a while. If you do get to it, it's a huge commitment. It took me 67 hours to beat it. So it's pretty hefty. It's not. It didn't take me as long as Metaphor. Metaphor was 72 to 4, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
It was pretty close.
It's also one of those games, I think, where they're like, hey, you should go outside and touch grass. I really think it's one of like those games where it's like trying to like, push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, a little bit. The thing that, it was tough for me to walk away from Persona 3 because the schedule is so like, do this, do this, do this, do this. You kind of had to find points to stop in it. Whereas Metaphor was like, oh, there's a dungeon. Go to the dungeon. Oh, you can go talk to this person. It feels like very like player led. And Persona 3, it's like, we got this schedule, buddy. Keep it. Like, you got to be here on this certain day. Like, it's easy to get addicted to it because you're like, oh, if I do this and then I do this, and this feeds into that, and like everything. There's a nice symbiosis to the world itself. It all feels very clockwork,
Yeah.
So, that's like light spoilers, heavy spoilers, whatever you want to say, for my time with Persona 3 Reload. Noah's played Persona 3 Portable all the way through.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I'll ever play the original. I just don't. I don't feel the need to. I feel like this is my Persona 3 experience, and I really liked it for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically all of my. That's all of my odds and ends for the most part. Unless you had something else you wanted to bring up for like sideline stuff you've been touching.
No. I.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was able to cover most of what I've been messing around with lately. So.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, and we two huge topics was Monster Hunter Wilds, to recap. That was the big game, and then me talking about a lot of Persona 3. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Did I?
I guess we'll.
Did I get to? Have I talked about Rabbit and Steel at all on the show?
I don't. You made that face. I was like, is something wrong? I don't. Did you talk about it last podcast? I don't know. You can refresh us. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I played a little bit of it. It's pretty fun. It's got like MMO cooldown sort of combat mixed with.
Oh, I think you might have mentioned it. I don't know how deep you got into it though.
Yeah, mixed with like a Toho gameplay. I played it with a friend of
mine.
Yeah. And
I remember you talking about this. Yep.
It's pretty fun, pretty good game. So I played a little bit.
Rabbit and Steel. Okay.
I might have mentioned it to you in our DMs, but I might not have mentioned it on the podcast because I played it pretty recently. Not. So.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, and also, there was a new card pack that dropped last week for Pokemon Pocket TCG. The Arceus stuff, Triumphant Light.
Yep.
It's been nice.
Really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been pretty consistent every month or every month and a half, just dropping something.
Yeah, and like it's not just like dropping cards. They like for someone who actually like is pretty deep into like the gameplay of it. Like they drop just the right cards to expand the meta to where it's not like one deck dominating, but you can actually like play a variety of things. I think there's like 6 different like archetypes right now that people would consider S tiers, so like that's really good for a game like that. It's a really good balance.
Yeah, I think my time with TCG is kind of done for now. I've played enough of it. I'm pretty happy with my time with it. If I feel like I want to come back to it, those cards will stick around, and I can kind of farm them later. But I hadn't felt the pull to open my packs lately, and I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm just going to offload this app for now. I can check in on this later. I really like my time with it. I spent probably 100 hours just playing and collecting and all that stuff. I just like checking every day for months. It took 4 or 5 months I played that game, or whatever it was. 3 or 4, whatever. But yeah, that's a great game. It's really awesome. I didn't feel the pull to play more of it for now. But yeah. TCG, we'll keep checking up as new packs drop, basically, because Noah's definitely going to play it going forward. Yeah, our topic. since I got this 8-bit Do controller, I've been thinking about what my favorite controllers are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I'm thinking a top five. I think we can both put together a top five.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to add the 8-bit Do because it's too early. I think I would if I wasn't going to rank something, but I really like this controller.
Well,
I think it's time will tell. But
why don't we
yeah.
limit it to like the I guess actual like consoles like controllers?
Yes, that's what I was
like,
gonna
the
say.
Publishers
Mhm.
controllers, because otherwise
Right.
8-bit Do would just win. For
Right,
any
or like a
console.
Mad, like I didn't want like us to rank Mad Cats or something, like
Well,
something
yeah,
from. The,
I mean,
yeah.
a Mad Catz is like gonna be pretty low, but
But it's like it's like a third party sort of thing.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, so like basically like Nintendo controllers,
Yes.
Xbox controller,
Yes.
PlayStation, not PC stuff as much as possible. So yeah, I guess how do you want to handle this? Do you want to go just first? I mean, do you want to? You don't have to like rank it necessarily if you don't want to, or you can just say your 5 favorite, or you can
Okay.
rank it. It's up to you.
I'll
Yeah,
just-
what do you think?
I'll just say my favorites.
Okay, yeah.
So honestly, I like the Wii remote quite a bit. I think that the Wii remote
Really?
is fun. I think it's a
Really?
nice controller. I've spent a lot of time with the Wii remote.
Yeah,
and I can
for sure.
confidently
The
say
Wii.
that the Wii remote is one of those controllers that I really enjoy for Wii
Yeah.
games. I don't like it
Okay.
for like fighting games, stuff like that requires precise inputs, but for the games that use the waggle well, or even just like for games that are like NES games, I like playing NES games with the Wii remote because the
Yeah, I
like,
can see
sideways
that.
it's pretty simple controls on that. So that's one of my top controllers, I think. GameCube
Gotcha.
controller is obviously going to be up there.
Yep.
That's
Up there.
bread and
It's
butter
up there.
controller. I just absolutely adore that controller. Love the feel of it, the control layout. The D-pad's bad on that thing. Don't
It
use
is.
that D-pad unless
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you have to.
Yeah.
But other than
it's
that,
not a perfect controller, but it's pretty
No.
perfect layout wise. Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty good controller. It feels nice for the games that it's designed for, but playing games that aren't like designed for it, it's the same thing like with Wii remote. Like there's some games that you just don't want to use that layout for. You gotta
Definitely.
use a more standard layout, and that brings me to like the next controller, like the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, the DualShock. Like
Yeah.
DualShock is just DualShock 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much like the same controller. They had it down
they really
pat
are.
with those. I like the DualShock 4 okay. I think it's fine.
That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah. I will say it pisses me off that it has that that like touch sensor in the middle.
The touchpad.
And the only reason is when I was playing through Bloodborne with it, I would constantly be accidentally gesturing in the middle of boss fights.
Not great.
No,
Yeah.
they needed a way to disable that. And if they did have it, then I didn't find it. But
I don't remember. I don't remember doing.
I would do.
I don't remember hit.
What would happen
Yeah.
is I would hold down cross, and then if you hold down cross and then you shake it, then it would
Right,
do
it was a
any
gesture,
mode.
yeah.
It was a gesture. It wasn't
Right.
the touchpad, I don't think. It was like a gesture thing, but
I was gonna say
It's
like I don't
still-
think. I mean I'm pretty sure you could with the touchpad, but like it was mostly the hand, like the gyro was the thing.
because I remember looking up like, okay, what the heck is going on? Why do I keep doing this when I'm in the middle of a boss fight? It'd be just
Right.
because of the way I play. I like tend to hold down buttons for too long sometimes, and so that's just how I am. I also am the type
Sure.
of gamer to like I hold forward too much. I find that to
Oh.
be a problem in games a lot, especially like fighting games or like input-based games. I'm holding forward all the time when I don't need to be. So that's a thing that I do, but
Yeah, it's just a quirk. Yeah.
yeah, but so yeah, the DualShock series. I've never messed with the DualShock 5. I can't talk about that one, but
I'll talk about it on mine. You don't even need to cover it. I mean,
Yeah.
I have plenty of experience with it, and
Sure.
I can tell you what I think.
but
But,
the DualShock series though, I mean, I love that PlayStation 1 controller. I think I do need to get like an off or like a third party one for PlayStation 1 though. The reason is that D-pad on it's a really tough D-pad. It's a good D-pad, but it like imprints into your like thumb and it feels uncomfortable after using that for a long time. I was trying to play Final Fantasy VII with it, and I'm like, okay, I need to find a new third-party controller to plug into my actual PlayStation to play through this.
Yeah, the so like when you're talking about PlayStation 1, there's the original D-pad version where it's without the analog stick.
Yep, I own
that
one
is the one you're talking about. That one is not a great one.
I own one of those.
I like the layout.
I own the DualShock as well, the one with like the actual like
right with the toggle right.
Yep.
It was they changed the plastic on or they changed the shape on the DualShock version. It's not as tough. It's slight. It's a little rounder. It is a little rounder. It's not perfect. It's not as hard as the originals.
Maybe
and I think that's because that's the criticism of it.
Maybe I was playing with my original controller. Then maybe I need to try playing with the like DualShock one. But I was trying to play through Final Fantasy VII like on hardware, and I was having trouble with that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially with all those menus.
That is not a analog stick game, so I was like thinking in my head like, there's no way I'm going to use an analog stick in this game at all. So,
right, yeah, it's that I remember having an original one, and then having a DualShock and going like, why doesn't this have the joysticks? You know, it's so second nature, right?
Yeah.
That was like for the like when it came out, like that was it. They had no DualShock at all. But like
analog sticks weren't like the industry standard at the time. There was no industry standard because 3D was just burgeoning. So
you're right. I mean, the N64 was like the first one that really had that. Implemented in a way where people were like trying to get their head around a 3D space. Like that's
speaking of N64. That's version. Also one of my favorite controllers. I love that controller. It's a really fun controller. It's awkward, I'll admit. It's an awkward controller.
Very awkward.
It's a three-handed controller, right? But
yeah, you gotta be like Patrick Star, where you grow another hand out of your stomach.
It makes sense when you realize that they thought that games would be like distributed into like, okay, there's some games that will want to use, you know, these two portions of the controller, then there's games that will want to use these two portions of the controller. So that's what their thinking was. That's what all their design docs say. That's what all their marketing says. Like, for these games, use this layout. For these games, use this layout. But when you hand it to somebody, they're like, "What is this thing? Why does it look like that? Why does it have 3 prongs?" But at the end of the day, it is a really ergonomic controller that feels good to use, and the notches in the joystick feel nice. It's just a solid controller. I like the C buttons a lot. I think I might even like that better than like the GameCube C stick. But
I think so. Yeah. The C stick's a little awkward sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid controller.
For sure. And
I think for my last entry, I mean, I've said this before. I'm kind of a Nintendo guy, so. I'm gonna put the Switch controller up there. The Joy-Cons. I mean, the drift was horrible for me with some of the Joy-Cons I've had in the past, but I have like some newer ones now that don't drift, and they just feel so ergonomic.
So you mean the Joy-Cons, not the Switch Pro, right?
That I'm talking about, like the launch controllers, so I'd consider the Joy-Cons like the actual like Switch.
Oh, you like the Joy-Cons? Interesting.
I like them. Yeah, I think they're pretty good for what they are. Having 2 of them, obviously, the single Joy-Con is a little bit too small. It doesn't have like the width of like the Wii remote to where like, you know, holding it sideways feels good. So when you're like trying to do multiplayer stuff with like the one little Joy-Con, it's pretty awkward. But with 2 Joy-Con, especially if you get like I call them the dog ears. It's like the little thing you can slide into them to make it a controller.
It's like a grip basically.
Yeah, it's like the grip. Yeah, it's nice. But even just like playing it like portable, that Switch 1 controller feels pretty ergonomic, and I think that the Switch 2 is gonna like improve on that, hopefully. So
I think the Switch Lite is so above the original Switch
Yeah.
model because of the compactness and that it's all together.
yeah, I think
And
I
it's
really
so
like
light.
the Switch Lite.
Oh, the Switch
I
Lite
love the
is
Vita,
so light.
so
I
think
love
I'd
that
like
about
the
it.
Switch Lite quite a bit.
Yeah, the Switch Lite is just like, I mean, you can throw that thing against the wall. It's like nuclear proof. It's kind
Yeah.
of amazing. It kind of feels like a Nokia phone tablet thing. Like it feels indestructible. Like it feels like you could just hit it with a hammer to be fine. I love the Switch Lite, but not having the TV function kind of kills it for me. I wish it was at least dockable, but you can't do that. Um,
Okay.
like if they had that form factor, I think it would still be the way to go.
Mm.
Just like it's remarkably light, I would say. Um, yeah, I guess to start for me, unless you had something else about controllers.
No.
Yeah, that's a good
think
list.
so.
I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
A
I
lot
like
of
that list for sure.
Nintendo, but I kind of went through
Yeah,
like,
I mean-
all of the
Yeah,
Dual Shocks at once for Sony because they don't change too much with their
they
controllers.
don't.
They kind of got it right, at towards the beginning of their career, and they're like, yeah, we figured this out. We got the two analog sticks. I think I like having them both on the bottom, but with my 8-bit dos, they're not like that. But I'm okay with that too.
Right.
But
Yeah, for sure. The layout's pretty much the same. The touchpad stuff has been the last couple generations.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of it. It feels kind of clunky a lot of the
Yeah.
times. It feels like they could have. It's a lot of empty space. They could have just streamlined it.
The Vita had the touchpad on the back of it, and there were like a lot of games that were trying
Yeah.
to push that. I remember like
Yeah.
trying to play Jack and Daxter on the Vita, and you had to use those back like touchpads for like the L2 and R2. I'm like, what is this, guys? What are we doing?
There's buttons for that.
That port of the Jack and Daxter collection on Vita is atrocious. Like you literally have to mod your Vita just to even be able to run it
runs-
properly.
it
Yeah,
runs
you have to
horribly.
overclock your Vita with mods in
Yeah.
order to even just
'Cause
get it to like run properly. So
It's capable of running it. It's not a
Yes.
problem. Like, but
it drains your battery like a mother. I
Yeah.
will say if you
Yeah.
overclock it, like it just shoop. You have to play that
Oh,
thing
yeah.
plugged
Oh,
in
yeah.
if you're overclocking.
that thing. Oh, there's so many bad Vita ports. The Borderlands one is terrible.
Mm.
Borderlands 2 is awful. Just
Yeah.
horribly optimized games for that. Was it Is it Black Ops that's on there? Declassified. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's a bad version of that game.
And they've got
Yeah,
Project
the Vita
Diva,
versions of games.
F first and F second, and then they've got Project Diva X, and all of those. Like they try and shoehorn the back touchpad controls into the rhythm game.
Right.
Like, come on, guys! I don't want to use this. What are we doing here? I don't want to feel up the back of my Vita and I'm trying to play this rhythm game.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. It makes no sense. It makes no
Yeah.
sense. But anyway, I guess I don't know if I'm going to rank these or not. I'm just going to kind of go by feel, kind of like worst to best, probably. I already know what my top is. It's easy. It's not a problem. But I would say the bottom for me, and it's only because I feel like it's done better. I love the GameCube controller. It's my bottom of the 5, only because the D-pad is bad and the C-stick is pretty clunky, and I
Yeah.
don't love the click in of the triggers. I don't love
Oh,
it.
I like that. I like
the
very
feeling of the
heavy
controller.
analog triggers. I like that.
I love the feeling of the controller. I love the way the triggers feel. I don't like the extra click in. It feels like I broke it. I love the layout of the buttons, especially the A, B, X, Y is amazing.
Yeah.
They should just do that in all their controllers going forward. I don't know why they ever got
It
away from it.
feels really
It's
nice.
it's the way to go. Having the Z button up there,
Yep.
amazing. The sticks themselves feel really good. I just don't like the hexagonal way the C stick clicks around. I don't like that. I understand
Yeah.
it's to signify direction, but if they just made a circular outline, it would just solve the problem. I really feel that way. They got the right idea. They just needed to hone in on the actual design of the controller a little bit better and change a couple things. But like the layout's perfect. The feel of it's the best feel of any controller. I think it just really just molds to your hand. And depending on what side, I mean, it feels like it could be for anybody.
Yeah,
It feels really nice.
yeah. I like the analog, like I like the analog triggers personally. especially for
Yeah.
Mario Sunshine and Smash Bros. Specifically, like Melee.
Specifically, yeah,
utilizes
those
it
games.
really well. Mario Sunshine utilizes it really well with Flood. Like,
It
there's
does.
so many mechanics that feel really good when you're like, you know how to, like, how far to press it in to get where you need to go with Floods.
Right. And for Nintendo games, they implement their tech the best. I mean, that's just the truth with all of their stuff. But nowhere is that more stark than in the GameCube era with those controllers. They really those games feel designed around that controller in a way that their other games don't feel.
Yeah.
Like basically like none of their games for the Switch is optimized to play with the Joy-Cons. Like, it's not like that. If anything, like, it's a detriment in some ways with especially like Breath of the Wild. Like the inventory is kind of atrocious in that game, especially in Tears of the Kingdom. But like those games feel like Mario Sunshine, like you said, with the adaptive stuff. Yeah.
I think Breath of the Wild, I've always wanted to try playing it on Wii U. Because, like, that game was like, designed for, like, gamepad use.
Right.
So I think that game
it feels
from the gamepad. Are they doing a gamepad thing with Switch 2? Is that, like, a thing where they're going to have, like, 2 screens? You're going to have, like, the Switch wirelessly streaming to the TV? Because I heard something
We're going to find out. We're going to find out real soon.
That'd be really, really cool.
Yeah.
I'd like that a lot.
And there's also talk about a second screen attachment. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with this thing, but they're doing some interesting stuff.
I'm the Wii U's, like, biggest supporter, biggest, like, enjoyer.
You are.
I should have put gamepad on my list because I adore that gamepad. I've played so many games on that gamepad. I love it. But I think the Switch 2, if that, like, actual, like, console itself works like a gamepad, I'm going to be sold. I'm going to be hooked. Like, I could see it on my TV and then have, like, my menu on my Switch. That sounds great to me.
If they implement it well, it could be done well. And they're doing interesting stuff with the Switch 2. I'm ready to see that full showcase so they can show off everything. Because I think it's going to be pretty hefty. They're going to show some games, they're going to show the functionality of it, and they're going to give a date, I'm sure. I bet you it'll be June or August window. For my money, I think that's when it's going to drop.
Sure.
June to August, maybe early September. But anyway, I digress. Back to the controller kind of discussion. The GameCube is the bottom of my 5, but I think it's really good. It's up there because it's good. I think the next one, I think I gotta give it to the Pro Controller for the Switch. I really like the Pro Controller. I think it's super tight, super slick. The D-pad's great on it. It's great. The bumpers are good. The triggers are good. Everything just feels very crisp. It's not like the most luxe controller out of there. It feels high tech without feeling over designed. It feels very workmanlike. I like picking up my Pro Controller and going, I can play a video game with this. It feels very 8-bit dough that way. Like, they feel very similar feeling. I think the 8-bit dough is a little mushier, whereas the Pro Controller is like pretty rigid, especially in the triggers. If they feel more like buttons, honestly, than trigger pulls for the Pro Controllers. But the charge lasts forever on a Switch Pro Controller too. You can plug that thing in, get a full charge on it, and then not charge it forever, like days and days. It feels like. I mean, with constant use, it'll run out, obviously. But like compared to like the battery life of a DualShock or DualSense, it's not even close. I mean, it's just so much more superior. But like I said, it feels more workmanlike. It's my favorite Nintendo controller, probably. Slightly over the GameCube because of the design issues I have with it. If I were going to go for feel, it would be a GameCube because I am so used to that format. But I'm always reaching for the Pro Controller because I think it's just really, really solid. I feel like it's the most solid of the devices. I think my number 3 is probably the Xbox Series controller with a caveat. I think it is the loudest controller on the list by a lot. It is the clickiest son of a bitch on the entire list. Like, it's so clicky. You can hear it through your headphones. You have noise canceling. Like, it's just like click, 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 click. It's the loudest thing ever. The D-pad is so loud. The triggers are loud and clicky. The feel of it is great, and the rumble specifically in each side of the controller is really high tech and high art. But no game really takes advantage of it like their first party stuff does. Like Forza really takes advantage of that. I mean, it really runs with it. But their other games don't fit. Like Halo is that way too, where it has a haptic rumble to it on each side, individual rumble. That's really nice. but it's just so loud. It's the one issue with it. It's got a great D-pad. Um, the triggers are probably the best of any trigger, especially with the Series X version. There are some implementations that have a rubberized grip on the actual grips that feels really nice. Like I have a Starfield controller; it has actual rubber on the grip part of it, so it feels really secure in your hand. I think it's the best design controller they've ever done. Um, but the major detriment is that it's too loud, and the start select buttons are terrible. Like they're like this like box in a box for the start button, and then like a 3-line grid for the
Oh yeah,
select. And I don't even know what they call that. Like, what do you even call that on like a button? It's a mess.
I
Like
mean,
just but start select. What are we doing?
I've kind of gotten
You know?
used to it because that's kind of like what they
I've gotten
do
used
now
to it, but it just
on their
sucks. Like why
standardized,
change
like,
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awkward for sure. I just think of it as like these days I just think about it as like plus and minus, like from the Wii. I thought that was a pretty elegant
That's
solution,
fine.
the
Yeah.
plus and minus.
And Switch is like that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like my
just like
Cryptos, they have like the plus and minus on them, even though
Yeah.
they're like the Xbox like controller layouts that they're like PC compatible. But
ABXY, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's X input for sure.
Mhm.
They do have the B and A in a different situation than the Xbox controller does, at least for my 8-bit dough.
yeah,
It's got the
I have
B on
one,
the bottom.
Yeah, I have one like that I use for my Switch, and then I have two that actually have like the Xbox controller.
Okay,
layout
so they have
completely.
actual X
They
input.
do.
Yeah,
Yes.
um,
Yep.
like the layout. Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yep.
Um,
And they even have like the colored
yeah.
like buttons like Xbox does. So.
Sure. I do like that about Xbox, the color button. With my Starfield controller, it's like a theme controller, and Starfield's not a great game, by the way. But the controller's awesome. The controller's so slick.
Sure.
I love that controller. But they don't have the colorized buttons on it because it's a theme controller. But their regular controller is nice with the colors. And I like with the Xbox remotes, you can customize them. There's like a customizable site you can go and make your own and put your name and stuff on it. Change the trigger color. You can even put like I don't know, Vault Boy wrap on it. Whatever you want to do. They have a lot of options for Xbox controllers for people that want to do the design lab stuff. So
Yeah, you need to
just
get
for
an
like
Astrobot design for your Xbox controller.
well, I was going to say
He's probably the best franchise on Xbox, to be honest. So.
Well, the DualSense Astrobot controller is pretty slick, I have to say.
DualSense,
spoilers.
that's the wrong system. What?
DualSense is not on this list because I hate the DualSense with a passion. I'll get into it. But the Xbox remote is up there. It's all the controllers I've mentioned so far have caveats. They just do. They're not amazing.
Sure.
My number 2 is the DualShock 4. It is the controller I've used the most. It's not my favorite DualShock necessarily, but I think I have a soft spot towards it because I've played so much of the PS4 and PS5 with my DualShock 4. The battery life isn't amazing. It's a lot better than the DualSense, which is a major issue. Oh, okay. I'm just going to talk about it. The DualSense is not a good controller. I think it's heavier, which is not great, but it's worse in almost every way to the DualShock 4. It's got haptic feedback, which is interesting. It's got different rumble stuff that no game implements because it's very luxe. It feels like a premium controller without the premium offerings. The battery is so atrocious on my controllers. Like, I'm talking an hour and a half sort of thing, where you're playing a game and it just dies, and with barely like a notification saying you need to charge this thing, like it pops that up and then dies. And I have a new-ish controller. This one right here is new-ish. I bought it in the last couple of years. The battery is awful. It's one of the worst parts about it. It's like maybe my least favorite controller because of it. And it sucks because you're required to play PlayStation 5 with most of those.
Yeah.
Like you can play PS4 games with the DualShock 4. You can. But I don't ever choose to do that. I really don't.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly switching between my PS5 controllers. And I freaking hate it. It's terrible. The DualShock 4 is better in every way. It's smaller also. The DualSense is larger, which I don't like. I like the smallness, like the form factor of the DualShock 4. The pad isn't as annoying as the DualSense. Like it's like better in every way. Like they backslid with the DualSense. It's maybe my least favorite controller ever. Besides like the original Xbox controller that the Duke is awful. That thing is a blunt force trauma weapon, right?
What
But
are they thinking? They
I
have
don't
like the
know.
giant thing in this like bottom center of it, the giant like Xbox logo. Gosh, it's so
Yeah,
gaudy.
I
They
like the
tried
personality of it.
Yeah,
But
they tried to make a Dreamcast controller, but they didn't
Sure.
understand the Dreamcast controller.
There's no
at
VMU.
all.
Like there's no
Yeah.
VMU. There's no little screen.
Yeah.
Like it feels, in a lot of ways, the Xbox feels very
VMU,
Sega
that's a
inspired.
cool
but-
thing. I need to get a Dreamcast at some point so I can play around
Yeah,
with
me
the
too.
VMU stuff. And
Dreamcast is awesome. All their
what a
games are awesome on the
What a
Dreamcast.
cool system. There's still like a pretty decent like fan community behind it as well that like releases games every
Yeah.
now and then for it. So
Right, like actual
Yeah.
Dreamcast games. It's really
Yeah.
cool. The thing that killed the Dreamcast ultimately, I mean, Sega was a declining business after the Saturn anyway, but the thing that killed Dreamcast was piracy. Like immediately,
Yeah.
people were able to just download games from the internet, put it on a CD.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. So nothing happened, and the Dreamcast came out and shut down Sega 18 months later in the console
Sega,
market. Right?
they just had a lot of bad business decisions in general. They made too many
They
add-ons
did.
that nobody like cared
Yep.
about.
Yeah, right. I mean like the Master System is technically an add-on. Technically,
Yeah.
like they like it turned into the Genesis ultimately, but like the 32X, no one talks about the 32X.
Yeah.
For instance,
Like,
like
but
that's
it's got Knuckles
so perfunctory.
Chaotix.
Oh boy, everyone rejoice.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Duke controller is a mess. It's they nailed the input like perfectly. Like they know what they wanted, except for the white and black buttons. That was kind of a weird thing they never went back to. But yeah, I like the Xbox SKU controller. I just wish the new ones weren't so clicky. If they fix that, it'd probably be my favorite controller. Probably.
Fair enough.
I love the layout. I love the offset sticks is huge. It really helps with fatigue. I'm used to playing with the PlayStation remote, but I will say like having both of my fingers down it's a little taxing sometimes. Especially on the DualSense because it's bigger. So it takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
And my hands can still tire out after time to time. The best controller of all time is the 360 controller, and if you think it's not, you're kidding yourself. the 360 controller is just
It's not a bad controller.
impeccable.
I like it.
It's a great controller. It's like the controller. I will say there is a version of the 360 controller that has a bad D-pad. Don't get that one. Get the cross D-pad. Like that's the one.
Yeah. I played
the
through
triggers
Dark
are
Souls with it, so and Dark Souls.
Yep,
too,
same
so.
here. Yeah, the sticks are just immaculate. The material never goes bad unless you just destroy it in some way.
Yeah.
So durable. The tab button or the R1 L1 buttons or whatever you want to call it. LBRB is what they call it. So nice. It's not too mushy. It's got a nice click to it. The triggers are they're the best triggers in the game. No one's ever made a better trigger than the 360 remote, in my opinion. The face buttons, it feels like they never got sticky for me. They were it's just so solid. Like you could
Yeah.
pick up a 360
No.
remote and it's just like muscle memory, dude. It
Now
really
that I'm
is.
thinking about it, yeah, like I played a ton of games, like tough on controller
Yeah.
games, like the Souls games
Yeah.
on my 360 controller. Nothing bad ever
Yeah.
happened, but I played those. I played like through Dark Souls series on Xbox
Same.
One. I
Same.
broke 2 controllers just like through normal gameplay on Xbox One. Like they're not completely broken, but just like they have a bit of drift to them. Like sometimes some of the buttons don't work properly. Stick clicks kind of awkwardly. Like you're like there's a little it's.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
The material specifically gets worn down.
Yeah.
On the thumbsticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it starts like alling in almost. It's hard to explain. But Yeah.
The 360 controller never did that to me, and I played plenty
never.
of Souls on the 360.
It had this like really high quality rubber to it, and the actual inset of the sticks was wider than the new Xbox stuff, and I think it's just a more durable controller, and it became like the de facto controller for PC gameplay. Until like kind of the new stuff has come out, right? Like I think that most people use Xbox remotes for PC games.
Yeah.
Most people
Is
do.
it X input? Yeah.
X input, but most people prefer the 360 to even the series stuff.
Yeah,
Where the series stuff is like better, but like the design of the 360 is just the way to go.
it's iconic. Yeah,
So it's the best
the
controller I think ever.
the series stuff. I've never actually touched a series controller, so I can't comment
Yeah.
much on that. I just
They're
know that
they're
one
really good.
controllers would
Yeah.
always break on me. So
And also the Xbox 360 controllers, they're probably the quietest controller you can have.
Yeah.
Like there is no sound to a trigger throw. Pretty much.
I will say the one like downside of those is that you had to have like a weird headset connection thing.
Yeah,
to plug in the headset.
I think they changed that in their later SKUs.
Maybe.
But there's literally like there was like an entire add-on you had to stick
Yes,
in to your controller.
I own a headset for the 360.
Same for me, and it's like a one-ear headset
Yes,
sort of thing.
yep,
I think
own,
they
like,
added a
that same
jack.
exact thing. Yeah.
They added a jack. I forget what millimeter it was. Maybe 1.2 or something like that. I don't know if they had a 3.5.
I mean,
Like the
no,
like the PlayStation has just the regular whatever now.
Since
but
like the DualShock 4 at least, they have like the regular.
Yeah.
3.5.
Yeah, they got with the times on that
Yeah.
stuff. And I think later versions of the 360 did start implementing a jack.
Maybe.
But you know, it's not perfect on the
those
early
were the
stuff.
days
for
when
sure.
everyone had like potato mics too. That was great. So like
Yeah,
when
right.
people were mad at you on Call of Duty, like you could barely even understand them because they're potato mics. So it was great.
It's kind of nostalgic for me that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 360 remote is top tier for me. I bought a 360 recently just to play some stuff I couldn't play on my backwards compatible stuff for Xbox, and it's just like for instance, playing through like I don't know, all the old Transformer War for Cybertron games. It just feels so good, dude. Oh, it's so awesome. 360 controller is top. It's top for me. So yeah, two good lists, dude. I'm pretty happy with our picks for sure. You didn't have yours ranked, but I knew 360 was it. That's the top pinnacle for me.
Yeah, gamepad for me. That's the top right there. Wii U gamepad.
Oh
That's
yeah,
the
oh
best
yeah.
one.
I just think it is. I think it is the easiest
I
one.
played a lot of Black Ops 2 online with that gamepad, and I was pretty good at that. I had a pretty good KDR using that gamepad.
It just feels natural to me. Like I can come back to it. And it's just muscle memory.
We love that
For
gamepad.
sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we alluded to it in the odds and ends, but talk about Destroy All Humans, not the game, the manga. Talk about the manga, and then after that, whatever TV shows you're watching. Let's get
The
into
manga
stuff.
is Destroy All Humans, They Can't Be Regenerated. And what it is...
Destroy All Humans, They Can't Be Regenerated is the full title.
The full title, because it's a reference to Magic the Gathering board wipes, specifically Wrath of God, which is Destroy All Creatures, They Can't Be Regenerated. But there's a lot of like reprintings of that type of effect. There's like Damnation, there's lots of different cards say something similar, but the They Can't Be Regenerated part is iconic because what this story is it's a like a high school like rom-com sort of thing set in the 90s Japan when Magic the Gathering was starting to take off in like niche sectors of Japan, like gaming communities. So it's just about like two kids are going around and getting into Magic the Gathering. The main guy is big into playing mono black, and the main girl is big into playing mono white, and so they kind of like have like a rivalry going on there, and yeah, it's just a fun little like throwback sort of thing. You get to see a lot of like old 90s stuff going on. You get to see a lot of like it's just a really cozy manga. I've really liked it. There's a lot of like old cards, and they do the thing like in Yu-Gi-Oh's manga where like they like have like the monsters actually like appearing in the background behind them. It's like a
cool.
It's really cool. It's really cool seeing like the old card arts because the old card arts are always like really like really jank looking and interesting, you know, and it has a certain
Yeah.
appeal and style to it, you know,
The old
art.
stuff for sure. Like
Yeah.
as the cards progressed, they became like more uniform. But yeah,
But like
totally.
it was just so like tonally different art styles and like that old stuff. So like it's a lot of fun seeing those old cards and being like, yeah, that's a jank card, or like the mono white players like, yeah, I'm really excited. They're releasing new land destruction, and if you like, you're not like a commander player, land destruction's typically like really like frowned upon because
Yeah.
that's like how you generate mana and like actually play cards. But in like a
Nice.
competitive sense, like yeah, land destruction's great. They don't even like release that anymore because it's kind of a mean strategy. But
Yeah, you're like,
Um,
oh, well, you're kind of not making it fun anymore because I can't use my attacks. or
but
whatever.
in like a
Yeah.
competitive sense, I think it's fine. But
It makes
and
sense
that's kind of
to-
the
to
setting is like a
handicap them, yeah.
competitive sort of like setting is like
Right.
what they're playing. They're not really playing in like a casual sense. They're playing in more of like a competitive, like I want to win sort of sense. And so it's got like that
Sure.
dynamic of like again like Yu-Gi-Oh, to where they're like, you know, yeah, we want to better each other and, you know, improve our skills. And so like the main guy experiments with like different like archetypes of decks, you know, after like he starts losing with mono black, he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna try playing some blue in my black deck, you know, and have access to like
Sure.
counter spell and stuff. It's a lot of
Okay,
fun
okay.
for like
Cool.
Magic nerds like me that also are
Yeah,
into
that's
like
cool.
the anime sort of stuff and manga sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
there's two
Well-
volumes right now in English. I own both of them. They also come with like promotional cards that are like old cards, so it's pretty fun.
So it is a Magic. Is it a Magic sponsored thing?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
Cool. That's cool that they like actually include those cards.
Yep.
You can add.
It's fun. It's fun. And so yeah, that kind of is what got me into it. Was like, ooh, they have a printing of this old card that I'm never going to use because it's really terrible. I'm gonna go ahead and get this manga, and then I end up really liking it. So
Cool. Oh, by the way, I was gonna tell you this. By the way, I know you're a big Samurai Champloo fan.
Mm-hmm.
They have the entire series for like $28. I saw. You should probably look into that.
Oh,
I know. Yeah, I forgot where that was. Let me find that link. I'll send it to you.
I need it. Oh, I love that. I love it. Love it. So
I know you do.
much.
I know you love that
It's
show.
so
I was
good.
like, oh, I gotta tell Noah
It's
this.
so
Yeah.
good. Oh, just the
I still need to
hip-hop
watch it.
with
I watched the first 2 episodes and loved it. I just
Oh.
never got back to
It's
it.
a beautiful show. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta watch that thing all the way through. I love Cowboy Bebop, but yeah,
Mhm,
I'll watch
mhm.
that stuff. He's coming out with a new show that
Is he?
he is. I forget what it's called. It's a futuristic show.
Okay.
That showrunner. What's his name? Oh my gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. They share the same creator. Yeah, Hajime Yatate.
Yeah.
He's doing another show. What is the name of this new show he's doing? It's coming out, I think, this year. Pretty sure. He also did Escaflowne too, which you need to watch. Escaflowne's great.
Yeah, I've watched Escaflowne. Yeah.
You have? Okay, great. Yeah, Escaflowne's awesome. But yeah, I thought I should mention Samurai Champloo. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a link to it today. I need to find that. But yeah, I guess anything else hobby wise you want to get to before I kind of pick on my little things.
Yeah,
Any hobbyist stuff you're doing?
I had something, but then I lost it.
Okay,
yeah,
if you
I've,
remember it. Yeah.
I will say, I've started collecting, at least for Union Arena, another TCG. I know I need another TCG for some reason, but I haven't sat down actually learned the rules for it yet, but I know that my nephews are interested in it, so I'm trying to get a few decks collected so that I can play with them, try and learn it with them.
Yeah,
so I've got
that's a good encore right there.
I've got a Code Geass, a couple Code Geass decks actually.
Oh, cool.
And then I've got I bought the Jujutsu Kaisen Precon, and the One Punch Man stuff just came out last week, So I ended up buying the One Punch Man pre-con. And then one of my nephews has the Bleach pre-con as well. So
Man, they go hard in the paint for all the anime stuff too. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know they were. I didn't know they like watch Bleach or something. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sick. Yeah, I'm getting into Bleach too.
Bleach
It's
is
a really
good.
good show so far.
Bleach is really good.
Yep. I just love the music in Bleach. Dude.
Mhm.
So good.
Oh yeah.
Also, Aizen's theme's great.
Oh,
I've been listening to that on repeat.
Aizen's so cool.
I can spell. Da, 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 da,
Oh,
da, da, da.
Aizen's
It's so good. Yeah,
He's the best.
Aizen
character in
is
that
cool.
show.
Bunkai. It's awesome. It's so awesome. Yeah, I've been just making dumb lists about video games. I've honestly been doing that a lot. I mentioned I wanted this to be my RPG year, and so far I finished 2 RPGs. I finished Final Fantasy 1 and Persona 3 Reload.
Yeah.
And I'm making my way through Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so I'm making good progress, honestly, and I want to kind of keep it up. I'm also playing a lot of Yakuza Kiwami 2, and hopefully when I finish that I can talk about it. So a lot of RPGs I'm kind of working on, kind of in the background.
You need to play a good one, like the original Phantasy Star. That's a fun one.
I know. Listen, that's
game's
also on the
fun.
list.
It's really jank,
also on the list.
but it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's
I
got
have
a
the
really
Sega
interesting
Ages
story
version.
for the time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have the Sega Ages version on my Switch, so that's the one I will play.
Sure.
I'll play it through with a guide, though. I've always wanted to play it.
It's cool. It's a cool game. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you about it when I'm done with it. Because how long is it? It's not terribly long, is
it's
it?
like... It took me like maybe 10 hours, I think.
Oh, nice. That's actually perfect. Maybe I should
Yeah.
jump to that.
No,
I was
it's
looking
not
for
very
something
long
kind
at
of
all.
small to slot in.
After...
After...
it's like a not the Master System, the first Sega.
It's a Master System game. Yeah, it is a Master System game. Yeah.
Yep.
The first one
system
is.
game.
The other ones are Genesis.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yep.
I wish they would make Phantasy Star 5. They never will, but they should. But I'm making lists about RPGs. Basically, like, I have a Google Doc running with all the ones I'm interested in from every generation, and like assigning them to different systems and saying like, hey, this game is a Master System game, but what is it best to be played on? Like, for instance, I put like the Sega Ages version of Phantasy Star 1 is the best to play on Switch. It's a Master System game. Like, I'm going through every generation, seeing which the best RPGs are and the best way to play them, and just so I can kind of like, and I'm like basically curating it for myself to go like, okay, I'm interested in these, I'm not interested in these. Like, for instance, I'm never gonna play the Atelier games. I'm just not interested in them, so I'm not gonna add them. Yeah, just not into them. But I want to play Artanelico on like PS2. So I'm like curating for myself all these games. Like I want to play the Breath of Fire series because I want to play Breath of Fire 4 because it has an amazing pixel art style, and that's also a PS1 game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that on PS1? I think I almost bought that, but I was like, I never
that's
played any of the other
beautiful
ones.
game.
So
Yeah, Breath of Fire 1 and 2.
I still need to get
on
around
Switch.
to Star Ocean 1 so I can play Star Ocean 2
Same.
on my
Same.
PS1. I own the actual disc for Star Ocean 2.
Okay, so you didn't get Second Story R then? That's Star Ocean 2.
Yeah, so Second Story R is the remake, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the one I have. Yeah.
No, I own it on PlayStation 1.
Right. So if you were to play through it, you'd play through the original then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would play through the remake because it's the HD 2D stuff.
Sure.
And it looks really nice.
I'm sure I'd like that too, but I own it on PlayStation 1, so I'm like, well, I guess I'm playing on PlayStation 1. So,
sure. Why not? It'd be an interesting
It
comparison.
was fairly cheap at my local game store, so it was like $20, I think, so.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I like collecting full franchises.
Sure.
PlayStation has all the Star Ocean games now, from the first one to Second Story R. The Divine Force is the most recent one. There's 5 Phantasy Star games.
I bought that first
they
one
have,
on Switch, like the whatever remake they have on the Switch or remaster or whatever.
Is Integrity and Faithlessness maybe?
No.
Is that not it? Okay. There's 5 Phantasy Star games. There's the 360 one. Okay, so there's the first one. There's the second one. The third one. What is that one? I'm going to actually look. I have a collection of all my RPGs basically on PlayStation. They're technically action RPGs, so I need to look at that.
Star Ocean, yeah.
Star Ocean, yeah. Which
Well,
is
yeah,
cool. I
they're
like
like a
having.
break off of like Tales, from what I understand, because like there was like creative
Yeah,
differences with like the Tales
creative
team,
stuff.
so
Yeah,
they
it's
broke
different.
off and did like their own thing, and that became Star Ocean. Which again,
Right.
I like sci-fi better than fantasy, so I'm sure I'm gonna get way more invested. I tried playing the GameCube one. Is it Tales of Symphonia on the
Uh
GameCube?
huh.
Yeah, I tried
Right.
playing that, and I'm like, this is why is this like
Here it is.
why is this like listed on like best GameCube stuff? Like I couldn't get into it. So
Right. In order. So in order, it's. I mean, for modern consoles anyway, it's Star Ocean First Departure R, and then the Star Ocean
yeah,
Second Story R remake,
yeah.
and then Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness, Star Ocean The Last Hope, which has a infamous English dub that is awful, that people like to rag on, and then the Divine Force was in the last couple years for PS5
Yeah.
and PS4, and I hear that game's pretty good but not amazing.
PlayStation One
But
has
yeah,
some
like you said,
pretty goofy
yeah.
English dubs too. Like Grandia has like a really goofy English dub.
Hmm. Yeah, I have the. It's cool. I bought Grandia on the PS3, and they just whenever they put that PS5 version out, where it's just an upres, it's not like changing anything. I just get the PS4 and PS5 version, which is pretty cool since I had digital entitlements to PS3
Sure.
and PSP version, which is awesome. But they also have that HD collection for 1 and 2, and they did change some stuff. So for Grandia 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
but
played that
I still
on
want to play those.
Steam, the HD collection 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But I also own Grandia 1 on PlayStation.
Right. Yeah, the Grandia games I want to play through. I want to
love
play through the
Grandia
Lufia. Yeah, I know you do. But there's three Grandia games. You played the first one.
I played a
They
little
have
bit of the
one.
second one. I have
You
played a
have
little bit
okay,
of the second
gotcha.
one, yeah.
And I actually bought the third one for PS2 at
I didn't even know
Game
that
World.
existed, yeah.
I know. Yeah,
Until recently.
it's
Until
actually
you
kind of
said
cool.
you bought it, I didn't
Hmm.
know. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have it on PS2 when I want to get to it, so I'll definitely play it at some point. But recently they came out with Suikoden 1 and 2, and
Yes.
those are just really good upreses.
That's
So
what
they
I've
didn't
heard.
change a thing.
Yeah.
They kept the sprite art the same. I don't think they changed any fonts. It's like the version of those games people want. It's going to be the way to play those games going forward.
Yeah, I need to
And they're
try
hoping
out
to
the
revitalize
series.
the whole. Yeah, they're trying to make new Suikoden games.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bringing forth 3, 4, and 5 at some point too. So hopefully they make a 6 at
Yeah.
some point, which would be awesome.
They've got those
So-
HD remasters of the Lunar games coming out too. It's a
I was
good
gonna say
time
that
to
next.
be a
Yeah.
PlayStation One
I was gonna
JRPG
say,
fan.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, the Lunar games, I'm definitely. I had opportunities to play
I
those
love
games
Lunar One.
on emulation. Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to get around to
I want
Lunar
to play.
too.
Yeah, what's it? It's Eternal Blue and then Silver Star Symphony. Is that right?
No, opposite. Silver Star
Okay, did I say it wrong?
Story, and then Eternal Blue is the second one.
Oh, okay, sorry about
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
I knew they were named something similar to that, but yeah,
Yep.
those are the ones I want to play. That I think that comes out in April, but a lot of remasters for PS1 RPGs. I'm kind of into it. So, and then also the Dragon Quest HD 2D that I didn't get to last year that came out.
Oh,
It's
the
a great
third
time to play.
Dragon
Like,
Quest 3?
yeah,
Yeah, I want to check that
Yeah.
out too. At some
and they're putting out
wanna get
1
into
and
that
2
franchise.
together in a bundle too, this year as well. At some point, they're doing Dragon Quest 1+2 HD 2D.
Yeah,
And
those games
it's
are, like,
interesting they're
really
bundling. They're
influential. So
They really are.
Yeah.
There's a couple of fun facts about one specifically that I'll tell you in a second, but they're bundling 1 and 2 together because one's a very short game. It has like 30 enemies in it or something.
Oh,
Like it's very
wow.
small. It's really small. Yeah, the first one.
That
is
makes
not
sense.
a long
That's like
game.
one of the first like JRPGs.
Yep.
Periods. So
Yep. It's super small.
Yeah.
I
Gotta start
think
somewhere.
the layout of I think the layout of 3 is just the layout of I think America or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, where they literally just like pulled from one of the maps and they went like, okay, we're gonna put our place here. This is Florida. Like
That's fun.
they did something with like a real world map and then juxtaposed it upon their world and changed the names, obviously. But
Yeah.
the landmass is like literally the same, which is kind of fun.
I know that like
So.
I think it was Dragon Quest was like made in response to like the difficulty and like kind of like the inaccessibility of like Western RPGs. They kind of wanted to like streamline like the process of playing an RPG, and so that was kind of like what birthed the JRPG sort of
like a
story.
wizardry sort of thing, or yeah.
Well, wizardry was like too that's like a Western RPG, and wizardry
right.
like a lot of like people were like having trouble getting into that,
and
so
Ultima as well.
Yeah, and so then they were like, okay, let's try and like simplify the systems, and that birthed like the like party focused, like story-ish focused, like JRPG system. So it's pretty interesting.
They actually, it's kind of awesome since we're talking about remasters. They remastered the original Wizardry, or they remade it top to bottom. Digital Eclipse did, which is really, they're known for their archival work and upresing of things, and they basically remade Wizardry 1 from the ground up with new graphics, new menus, and everything. They basically translated the gameplay 1-to-1. It's a dungeon crawler, like first-person dungeon crawler. I don't know if they have a way to play the original in that game or not, but it's literally Wizardry proving grounds of the Mad Overlord, the first Wizardry game as a new game. It's kind of awesome. So yeah, like stuff like that where they're just allowing people to play old stuff like that that's relatively inaccessible and putting a new coat of paint and making it playable. I really respect them doing that, you know. Yeah, great time to be an RPG player, especially from like last year. I mean, we had Metaphor, Persona, Sega alone, just like really shouldered the load. Infinite Wealth too.
Yeah.
I haven't even gotten close to finishing that.
Sega's like
it's
killing it with publishing all these RPGs.
They're killing it. They really are. Square Enix as well. I mean, we had Final Fantasy Rebirth last year.
Honestly,
Final
even
Fantasy
like
VII.
Nintendo, I think Nintendo had like remakes of both the Mario, the Mario RPG, and the 10,000 Year Door. So Nintendo had both those, I think, last year. Those were like their biggest releases last year too. Like they weren't doing a whole lot.
Zelda.
Year.
I would say Zelda's probably up there.
Oh, they had Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Yeah,
that's a new game too. So
yeah, I need to get around to that at some point. But
oh, it's so good. The ending is so good. The boss fights are just I love those boss fights so much. But yeah, just I'm on a JRPG RPG kick. I kind of want to play something short in the middle. Phantasy Star, that might be something I jump into.
That's
just
a good,
to kind of play through.
Just self-contained game.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun to just go through and push through all the jank and get through it.
Yeah. Other than making lists, I've been watching. Well, I guess I'll talk about my manga things first. My wife went to a boozy book fair in Kansas City and came back with the first volumes of 20th Century Boys and then Monster from Naoki Urasawa, who's like one of my favorite authors ever.
I love
the
Monster.
Pluto series. I told you about the Pluto series and you knew about them for sure, but they're just it's an amazing manga series. And I love everything he does.
Monster's
so
good.
yeah, I need to watch. They have the entire show on Netflix, but I want to get through the volumes first and then jump into that because I hear it is so good.
That.
But yeah, I started
is
20th Century Boys and I love it. I love 20th Century Boys, so good.
Nice.
And then finally for my hobby stuff, I've been watching Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It's so dumb. It's I think it's the first Adult Swim show. I think it is the first, if not the one of the first, where it's Space Ghost, who was an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon that ran for like 2 seasons or something. They basically took all the old cells and made it into a talk show with starring Space Ghost and kind of his enemies and stuff. It's basically like what if Conan O'Brien was a superhero. That's how it feels like. He's just a talk show host guy. What brought it up is the actor for Space Ghost died this past couple days actually, and he's beloved voice actor. Sure. And it spurred me to go like, I like Space Ghost. I should watch this all the way through. And I was looking for where to stream it. I could get it on Apple, the entire series for like $100. And I was like, yeah, I'm not spending $100 for 9 seasons of something. That's missed me with that. Adult Swim on their website has the entire show for free.
Oh, perfect.
So I'm like, I'll watch it through there. 10, 11-minute episodes. Yeah. It's a really fun show. Very lighthearted. It's so silly. But if you've seen like Harvey Birdman or something like that, it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Old Hanna-Barbera r- retrofitting, repurposing, C Lab 2021. It's like that. The old Adult Swim stuff did a lot of that. Um, Harvey Birdman is basically like defending like Johnny Quest and Huckleberry Hound and stuff like that. All the old Hanna Barbera stuff that Cartoon Network doesn't really do a lot with
Uh-huh.
nowadays. They did a lot of stuff with those original Adult Swim stuff. That's really fun, and uh, Space Ghost is part of that. He basically interviews old celebrities. Like he was talking to Gilligan from Gilligan's Island in one of the episodes, and Bobcat Goldthwait from Hercules. He was talking to him about something. Just random. It's just random fun stuff that's easy to watch. So, pour one out for Space Ghost, that actor. Um, I really should probably find out his name. But that's all my hobby stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else for you?
No, you're talking about Adult Swim shows, and I can't help but mention Xavier Renegade Angel. I adore that show.
I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think
You've
I've ever
never
heard of
seen?
that.
Oh no, it's amazing. It's just 2 seasons, and you can
Okay.
find like they've been
Take a look
uploading
at
it
this.
onto their Adult Swim channel on YouTube, so they should have the full series there. I think it's like two
Okay.
seasons of like 10 episodes. It's the most like bizarre, surrealist.
Oh wait, I have
show.
seen this guy. Yes,
Yes.
I've totally seen this guy.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this
I
thing.
love that show. It's so bizarre, so surreal, but
It looks like a it looks like a Second Life mod or something.
yeah. It's very jank animation. It's purposefully like really like horrible, and
Yeah.
it's very artistic. Like yeah, it's a beautiful like mess is what
Mess.
it is. I love it a lot. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
it
It
looks
barely makes
interesting.
sense, and like they make fun of like everything. It's one of those shows that just like they're making fun of everything, and it's great. It's a lot of fun.
A really good entry into Adult Swim recently has been Smiling Friends. Have you ever seen that?
I need to get around to it. A lot of
it's
people
so
are telling
funny.
me that I'd really like it. I'm sure I would. But
Oh, both seasons are great, and with most of Adult Swim stuff, they're never more than like 15 minutes for an episode, so it's easy to just kind of blow through them.
Yeah.
Smiling Friends has maybe the funniest episode of any animated show I've ever seen. It's when they go to space. That's all I will say. It's in the second season. It
Nice.
is unbelievably funny.
Yeah.
It gets into like flat Earth and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we
That's
doing?
awesome.
It's hilarious. I highly recommend Smiling Friends. It's by do you ever see One Cartoons or Oni Plays or something like that?
Yeah.
Um, it's Psychic Pebbles. It's Corey or not Corey. What's his name? I always forget his name. Um, he went off and did an Adult Swim
Okay.
show. It's so
Nice.
good. But it's not Corey. What is it, Corey? What's his name? Anyway, it's those guys, the
Sure.
Newgrounds guys.
Yep.
I used to listen to their podcast Sleepy Cabin, which is really funny. So I get a lot of Sleepy Cabin energy from Smiling Friends. So,
Yeah.
oh man, Adult Swim is great. Samurai Jack was on Adult Swim. I remember that. Samurai
Yeah,
Jack
I
was
never got around to that one. Never got around to watching.
Really, you would
Samurai
like it.
Jack.
It's good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
probably
you
would.
definitely like it. It's I'm pretty sure it's Getty Tartakovsky. I'm pretty sure it is. Who did Dexter's Lab and
Oh, I
a
love
couple other
Dexter's
things.
Lab, yeah, that was a classic.
Yeah, Dexter's Lab's great. Yep, yep. That's pretty much for all my hobbies that I've been doing. Watching normal amount of shows, basically. Haven't really picked up anything new, not much. I'm catching up with solo leveling week to week. But
Yeah. Yep. Solo
yeah,
was good.
it's been really good. It's been really good though.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah.
My favorite new gen anime for sure. They announced the sidebar. They announced the Demon Slayer movie this year.
Yeah. It
Oh,
should
the
be
castle.
wrapping up soon. Like that series should be wrapping
Yeah,
up.
it's the
soon.
beginning of the final arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the beginning
Yeah.
of the Muzan fight.
Yeah.
So, which is cool. I respect them for just saying like, "Hey, our mainline stuff is are just movies now." That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, fair enough.
The train movie was great. I liked the
Mhm.
was it Infinity Train? I don't remember what it's called.
Um,
I saw it in
Mugen-
theaters and it was great.
Mugen Train, right?
Mugen Train. Mugen Train.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Infinity Castle is the name of the new movie. I
Yeah.
want to say.
Overlord had a good
That-
movie too that I watched in
Really?
theaters. Yeah. Overlord's
Yeah,
a
I
great
still need to-
series. Yeah.
Still need to watch Overlord.
You'd like Overlord. It's great.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Demon Slayer, I love the show. I don't think the manga is very good. Like the art is not very good at all. I would say it's like one of the least interesting things in manga.
It's hard
like I understand
to remove that from like the animation because the animation's like so pristine and
it's amazing, dude. It's like
Slayer, yeah.
they really I would say it's one of the very few things that's better than its source material. Because the source material is very shonen for sure. I just don't think I don't think the artistic merit is there. The writing is good, but and the characters are fun, but the actual artistry is just not there. But how do you say it? Is it UFO table or whatever you say?
Oh, UFO table. I say UFO table.
UFO table. Okay, I actually like that better. They're just they have like unlimited budget. It's insane.
Well, they also have unlimited blade works because they did the.
Oh, that's an easy joke.
Works
Good job. Good job. You got
adaptation.
to take that layup.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that too.
Oh, please do, please. I'm begging you. It's so
I know,
good.
I
It's
know.
so-
I'll get to it.
I love.
I gotta
Blade.
get through Welcome to the NHK
Especially,
first. I know
yeah.
you,
Well,
you
you
want to watch
gotta
that.
get through that. That's like peak Studio Gonzo.
Yeah.
Like that's the pinnacle of Studio Gonzo. Like, oh, I love Welcome to the NHK.
That's a good segue because let's Gonzo. Let's get out of here. I think
Yeah,
I think it's bedtime for the old
Yeah.
Gipper here. I'm getting a little sleepy.
I'm getting sleepy too. You've got me thinking about Samurai Champloo, so I might try and watch like
Yeah.
an episode of that on something. But
Okay. Yeah,
But-
I'll send you
It's
I'll
like-
send you the link. Hopefully, if I can find it for that box set.
yeah, send me the link for that if you can find that. 'Cause
Yeah. $28, dude. I saw
Yeah,
it today. I was
I-
like, I have to send this to you.
I'd love to own that series. I love that. It's such a beautiful series, and like they even have like Nujaba's helping with the music. Rest in peace. He's a great artist. So
Yeah. Yeah.
It has a lot of like it's got a really powerful message to it. Like it's a really
Okay.
really good show that I think everyone should watch at some point. So
Yeah, I will definitely count me among the number at some point. I have so much stuff I'm watching.
I like it better
not
than
as much
Cowboy
anime,
Bebop.
but
I'll say that.
Wow,
much.
okay.
I like it better
Okay.
than I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop fan, but
you
I,
are. Yeah,
I
you love it.
I like Samurai Champloo better than Bebop, just because of
I think,
the
like,
message
I think
that
you
they
have
in
more-
Champloo is
Yeah.
interesting.
I think you have more Cowboy Bebop merch than I've ever seen anybody have. Like you're always wearing a shirt of like Ein or something, and I've always respected that. But yeah, that's the 10th one of these things. We made it 10 episodes. We haven't quit yet.
Yeah,
I think we're doing pretty good.
we're drifting along.
Oh, we're drifting, sliding left and right, baby.
We,
Yes.
we drift
so
in
by the time
conversation too.
well, that's fine. That's the point. I mean, we're having fun. I'm having a good time.
Oh yeah.
I'm never
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
apologize for having fun. I'm never gonna apologize.
That's right. That's right.
I will say, by the time you hear this, my next crash course is probably going to be up. We're calling it Citispell. It's my favorite save points, and I've been threatening to put this out for a long time, but I actually sat down and did it
Nice.
last week. So, yeah, by the time you hear this, it'll be up. Enjoy it. If you like it, like and subscribe as well, because we would appreciate that. And yeah,
Like it.
I talk a little bit about Evil Within 2's coffee pots because it's the best one. Spoilers. It's my favorite
wrong?
save point.
No.
No.
Bristol's bonfire? Question mark.
It's on the list.
Oh my
It's on the
gosh,
list.
this
When you
guy.
listen to it, you'll understand.
I don't know if I'll
It's on the
understand it,
list.
but I'll listen to it. I'll listen to it.
It's
'cause
not
it's good
okay.
content, but
Thank you. I appreciate
don't-
it. It's also a tight 45 to an hour. It's not that long.
it's not-
It's not bad at all. It's like I'm lying. It's like an hour, 2 minutes. Whatever. No one cares.
nobody
It's about
cares,
sitting
'cause
a
it's good
spell.
content, and
Yep.
he'll have a wrong opinion at the end, but we'll enjoy it anyway. So.
I can never win. I can never just win outright. I've always got to be a Pyrrhic victory or mixed success. You know what I mean? All right, for Stick Drift, he's Noah, I'm Power, and we are outie like a car. Bye bye.
See ya.